Good day, good night, good afternoon, and welcome to our Real Tennis Fans special podcast. It's always exciting, it's always pivotal when we have a special podcast. But let me just assure you, no one has died, no one has failed a doping test just yet, and unfortunately, 45 is still in the office. Just make those things clear. So this is not going to be a podcast dealing with any of those things, though we would love to be a thing. And not just hopefully none of my faves are pissing dirty, just putting that out there. But we had a special podcast about Black Panther hashtag Wakanda Forever. And hopefully we don't have any copyright issues with that by saying that, but I'm just saying. So I decided to get my good Judies. I was so excited that I saw the movie a couple times, like 3 times to be honest. And get my good Judies and some tennis fans, people who I know are comic book geeks and they're steeped in everything regarding Black culture. So let's sit together and get together for a podcast. Before I go any further, let me introduce who is present in our panel. And of course, I know the fans out there are dying to talk about Black Panther. If you haven't seen it, you're not a real fan. I don't know what to tell you. So let's start with Andreen from Solely Tennis Travel. How are you doing, Andreen? How are you?
I'm good. Oh, and I think probably we should say that we're probably going to spoil some elements, right?
So I'm not in a spoiler culture. I'm sorry. If you're reviewing something, you got to talk about what it is you're talking about, okay? I don't know.
It's been long enough.
Yeah, so people with the spoiler culture, please put that. Get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense.
I think I'm already in the lead. I've seen it 5 times. Is that horrible?
Oh, wow. Wow. Why you gonna be like that? Why you gonna be like that?
Keep going. Keep with the introduction.
I gotta catch up.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, Andreen from Solely Tennis Travels. We also have me. One-timer.
Hold up. You see, you're taking advantage of no sound effects because sound effects in there, you would have get one bong right now.
I know, right?
This is my job. My one job I do correct. I try to do as best as I can. One thing I know.
Sidetracked.
We have Janina from Foreign, Ohio. How are you, girl?
Apparently, I am the low man on the totem pole today, but I am well.
Yes, and we're glad to have you here. And I can assure you, fans, she did go out to the movie theater. She bought a ticket. She sat in a seat in a darkened room with a huge screen, and she watched this movie. So she gets the most props just for that. We give her E for effort today. How are you?
Good.
Prior to this movie, when was the last time you went to the movies?
I don't know. Long enough that I don't remember.
Oh.
True story.
And there is me, of course, the homosexual of the podcast. But unfortunately today, I don't think I'm the only one. But I won't say anything more. We have 2 special guests. We have 2 special guests.
I cannot with you.
We have, she's a reoccurring guest. It's Fio Bianca. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for the invite.
Yes, we can. You are a resident comic book geek. I mean, like, I don't know anyone who knows more about comic books.
We couldn't do this without you. You fill in all the gaps.
You were there for the
geek.
Yes, we love you for it. And she's from Foreign, Texas, okay? And we have another Texan with us today. I mean, Andreen, you're not the only Lone Blood State people here, so we gotta be careful. We have Olu, or as he like to be called, O, akin to Oprah. So there is O for Oprah, and there's O for Olu. How are you today, Olu?
Hello, first time, long time. So I'm excited to be here.
What is all that noise in your background? Cut the shit.
I don't think it's him. It's not him.
Who is it?
Someone has a television in the background. Not sure who it is.
It's O. Blame
okay, whatever it is. No, I will not. I will not. It was you?
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
Of course it wasn't.
Hi.
Hey.
So we all excited for this talk?
Very much
so.
So I sent out an agenda to my fans, and I just want to start off by saying, let me just see, what was your initial impression when you saw this movie? We will go with the guests first.
Go ahead, Jess.
Me? Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
What was your initial impression when you went in and you were, I guess, what were you expecting when you go in, and what happened when you saw it? Well, you left the movie theater or sat there thinking?
I was super impressed with the scope, I guess, just how big of a world they created, how visually stunning it was, the tech that was there. I mean, I knew it was going to be a big movie, but I guess I was pleasantly surprised at how big it actually was.
Olu?
Wait. When you say big, what do you mean big?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Sorry.
She thought of like, I think she has to.
She's having tech
Jasmine.
issues.
Jasmine, when you said big, what do you mean by that?
I guess just how much space it covered. Like, I thought it did Africa really well. I thought it did, even though it wasn't in the US very long, I thought it did that part pretty well. The South Korea, oh man, the car chase scene was definitely one of my favorites. Just everything it touched, it did so in a way that I really enjoyed. I mean, it blew me away that they put that much effort into it, as opposed to focusing so much on creating the Wakanda itself. I thought they did a really good job of creating a whole, like, almost like a small universe within the Marvel universe.
Olu, your turn. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
No, you're fine. No, to piggyback off of Jazz, yeah, it's the details, it's the depth of how everything's so realized in each world, not just Wakanda, but in every place. You know, when you go to the apartment of Njobu, you know, it's so much detail of what flyers are on the wall, of what's the detail in set design and everything. So I was just blown away more than anything of that. It wasn't superficial, or it wasn't just, you know, we're just going to put a superhero, you know, in black skin in Africa and then just call it a day. It was just so much work done to it, and that just increased my appreciation for it that much more.
Andreen?
Alrighty. For me, you know, I go in and out of these movies, so I haven't seen like the Thor or anything like that, but I'm like a Captain America person. So I think for me, sorry, Captain America is sort of my fave. So I think what I liked about it was that the drama, like what I really appreciated was the strong storytelling aspect of it and the stakes, the emotional stakes of it. Because, you know, a superhero movie, it can just be action, and it could be just loud. But I actually felt like this was a really well put together story in a really closed universe. Like, I feel like we could take this story, put it on its own, and it stood very nicely, even though it's existing within this Marvel universe. So that's what I really appreciated, that it's like strong dramatic elements. Like, I felt for all the characters. I mean, that's really difficult to do in a superhero movie.
Janina. Did you stay awake? That's the first question we gotta know. Did you stay awake the entire movie?
I stayed awake.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the movie. I have not seen it 5 fucking times. I've seen it once.
Don't be shady.
Sorry.
What's the shade? I mean, I know how to enjoy things.
It's called envy. It's envy. It's really what it is. It's envy.
That's like, okay, like, it was 2 hours and 14 minutes. I was getting
a lot of time
fidgety.
You don't have on
That's
your
a lot of time.
Oh my God.
But I enjoyed it. No,
You know,
I
the
really
problem,
liked it.
it was too short.
Oh my
Way
God.
too short. It was so short.
I liked that I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel like there was a whole bunch of stuff coming from a world that I don't know about. Like Andreen said, this is a story that sits alone. It's got its own whole element. I did not feel like, oh, I don't know where that came from. I don't know what this means. I don't know who this person is, you know, because I don't know anything about this world. But I enjoyed it. I'm not going back. But I enjoyed it.
Whatever.
I took my son, who's 9. He liked it. You know, we had fun, and yeah, it was good. That's all I got. It was good.
So hey, there's some people in the chat room. We have Tony, we have Jasmine who's there. Jasmine, you want to be everywhere, but we love it. We have Yvette and we have Zenobia. I love that name, by the way, whoever you are. Zenobia, I love your
And
name.
we have Daniel, and we have Chad, and we have
Yes.
Bree.
Oh, Bree's here.
Stop
Oh,
leaving people out.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
see everyone. You know the chat scrolls down, right? You just know that. Okay, calm down. Calm down,
Okay.
Wakabi. Calm down. So
All over your ass.
she's ready to bring out the rhinos. For me, what I loved about it, I wasn't all up into the hype, you know. But then I saw a little action sequence, and I was like, okay, I gotta be in off of this. And I realized for some uncontrollable, inexplicable reason, I was really excited, anticipating this movie for some reason. And I went in, and not necessarily with my arms folded, but I was just like, you know, I'm gonna be judging y'all hard because y'all flop this shit. It's gonna be a lot of drama for me. I'm gonna be the first one to read everyone. But what I was impressed by the movie, it was the unity and the cohesiveness of everything that was happening on screen. I felt that everyone had the same vision, had the same, not necessarily, I don't want to say the same mindset like it was a group thing, but they were all focused on a goal to do the best possible job. And I saw no one slacking off. I saw no one in the costume department. I saw no one in the set. I saw no one in the action, no one in the acting. Just the thought process, like everything was together. And I have not seen that I can't think of any movie really that I can safely say everyone seemed to be on the same page. And that's what impressed me most than anything else. And this was an action movie. And I mean, like, I didn't really have, like, you know, high stakes in action movie. I just expect action and then no Oscars. But I'm telling you, these people need to Oscars need to rewrite their rules and put this up for consideration. Drop all those other 10 bullshit movies they got, the Dunkirk, all the fucking mess they have there. I'm putting Black Panther in there because it.
If Ruth E. Carter does not win an Oscar for costume design, I think people should riot.
Oh, of course.
Riot?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Just saying.
The costumes were amazing. Everything looked great. The detail
looked cheap.
was the detail was like, wow. I mean, like, I left there wanting dots on my face.
You want? See, I knew you were Wakabi. You definitely wanted that.
Are you sure? You mean Killmonger?
Killmonger had tattoos and scars.
Yeah, them scars. Like, I want to be a badass. I also, but you know, I also want to shave my head and dance around with the.
Had that feeling too. I almost had that feeling because of the calm down, motherfucker. You can't handle a spray like Okoye, so keep your hair in your head and sit your ass down, okay?
I did ask my family today.
You get calm, fuck that.
I asked my family today if they wanted to do like Black Panther family Halloween costumes, and I said I would shave my head.
No way.
Right? It'll grow back. It's just hair.
Yvette said she loved the story the most. It was amazing how the story grabbed the entire theater from the very first scene. That's true. I have to say that. I was like, why the fuck are they starting in Compton? And then boom.
No,
I was just like,
they didn't start in Compton. Yep. Oakland.
Yes, they did. No, Oakland. Oakland. Sorry, it's one in the. I'm sorry, California. And to me, it's one big place. Okay, it's one big place. There is Hollywood. There is LA. There's Compton. Oakland. Same place.
They do not.
And San Francisco.
They do not get along like that.
I know. I mean, and you have to ground it in Oakland because that's the start of the Black Panther Party. So I mean,
but I didn't think it was gonna be like that. And you know what was funny? As soon as I started watching the movie and they started telling the story of Wakanda and they showed the scene, I was just like, what the fuck? I've been a fan of Wakanda for ages. Why the fuck I never asked why is it Wakanda never stepped in for slavery? And I was like, ooh. I was just like, that thought has never occurred to me, like ever. Because, you know, comic book world, they never deal with those things at all. It's almost like the World War II happened and those kind of issues. But they never talk about Hitler, Germany. They just talk about an evil man, Hitler. They never deal with the specifics of these issues, like why this war was happening. What are the specifics of the war? Just that Hitler is an evil man. And in fact, I think they had They don't have Hitler. They have some other guy who is the evil Nazi figure in Captain America.
Well, they
But
had
then I
Red
was
Skull,
just
but Hitler was still
Red
there.
Skull,
Yeah.
right? So, but when
You know,
they
I
dealt
thought
with
was
this,
really clever though. I thought it was also clever how they introduced you to Wakanda in the very beginning with the short story.
I was so grateful for that.
So that
oh
like
yeah,
totally get away. That they it's very, very, very quickly. You know, you got that story, and then boom, before you even start the movie, you've already been sort of introduced to the Wakanda narrative to go, you know, deeply, which I thought was really helpful.
I didn't realize, though, until the second viewing, that the narration in the beginning was Sterling K. Brown and the little kid.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
oh
That's
wow,
true.
When you go back and you hear it the second time, the kid has an American accent when he's asking
Yeah.
about everything. Yeah.
oh yes, because he's telling them the story.
Tell me a story about home.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh
And
wow.
also, why did
God,
he
another
hide?
Leia
And-
movie. You're trying to make me have feelings. Stop it.
But you know what? But also, in terms of that, Jasmine, they set up the narrative tension right away, right?
Right.
Or we
I was
still
like-
is that way encapsulates the whole question and the movie
Yeah.
asks.
Honestly, Jasmine, I thought that was T'Challa and T'Chaka. I was just like,
I assumed it was the first
why
time.
T'Challa got a random African American accent? T'Challa, like you missed the script.
But I think they threw it off because the kid said Babu instead of like dad or pops
Exactly,
or something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yes, that's why it threw me off. Don't do that movie, but it was really good. I mean, like, look, Sterling K. Brown, Viola Davis, that scene. He Viola Davis that scene. Let me just put that out there. You're only on screen for like 5 minutes and you just ripped everybody apart. I was just like, Sterling.
Yeah.
Sterling, like you deserve all the awards right now. I mean, and that's just to say everyone acted very well. Like there was no one sloppy, no one was sloppy. No one was like, what? Like, no, girl, get out of here.
That someone I was speaking with actors. Actually, Michael B.
You're
Jordan
breaking up, Andre.
Jordan was the weakest link as an actor, which is interesting.
I can see that train of thought, but I think the only way that I could get behind that is if he played it as he was the obnoxious American. Because I think obnoxious American fits that narrative.
Look, that girl needs to see it another time and another time. And if she still have the same opinion, she can't have any opinion. Just putting that out there. You have no opinion.
I think he's a strong actor, but I think this was the best he's. Oh, sorry. I think it's the best he's ever been in a movie. And I think I could still see him working. Doing work in the movie, whereas the others came across, I think, a bit more naturally in some ways. But yeah, you know, overall, sure.
Let me just see if we can. So I guess for me, I guess that's how to segue into the right thing. So there was a huge hype behind this movie, and this hype equated to money. Everyone bought tickets and only ahead, and they got their whole coming to America. I mean, I literally have friends in the Caribbean. Who are all getting their dashiki, buying dashiki cloth to go see this movie, right? And they're like 2 weeks. I mean, the movie, they have to wait like a couple weeks because the movie is already sold out in the Caribbean. And so everyone is excited. But I haven't heard anyone said at all, like, wow, this was a letdown at all. No one said this at all. And I don't know, this is a testament. What do you think of the movie as a structure? Like, you know, like the plot, the action sequence, did you feel the movie held up its end of the bargain for all this hype it was getting and get some money from us like 2-3 times, 5 times on dreams?
As someone who's seen it 3 times, definitely. I mean, it's something that when I saw it the first time and I came out of it, it was just like there's no point in the movie where I felt bored or I felt uninterested in what's going on screen. And I that's a rarity in any of these, huge blockbuster films. There's always a little bit of one scene here or one scene there where it's kind of like, okay, once I get this on Blu-ray, I'm going to skip past this part to get to something that I'm more interested in. There's no parts and stuff. And something to Andrine said, it's the quiet moments of these movies, of this movie, Black Panther, it's part of its strongest parts of the movie. It's the scene with Sterling K. Brown. It's the scenes where they're in the ancestral plane, talking to, whether it's T'Chaka or Njobu. So for me, it was, the repeatability factor for me is there, and I had to get caught up with Dream, but yeah, I'm definitely going to see it a few more times, so maybe 6 or 7.
Wow.
I think it lives up to the hype, but it was easier to live up to the hype because it's an origin story, as opposed to being a sequel or segueing into something else. I think as far as the other 17 movies in the MCU, this one is probably, it's my favorite. It finally knocked Winter Soldier out of the top spot for me. But as far as setting up its characters, I think this movie is on par with Iron Man, which kicked off the entire thing 10 years ago.
Fully agree.
MCU?
The Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yvette said Sterling K. Brown is made to make you cry. I know, Yvette, you were in there like a bag of tears. You were watching that movie theater when Sterling came on screen. It's true. I don't watch This Is Us, but if this is what he puts on This Is Us every week, look, I got no problems with this man going home with those statues.
He's good.
So for me, I'm as someone with a degree in some of this, I was like really ready to. What I was so impressed with was the script. As I kept every scene, I was just like, they wrote this? They really wrote this, and this is happening? Are these characters expressing and showing things? And the directions were so good, even sometimes when they weren't even saying anything. Just a simple word would come out and would just capture the whole thing. I mean, for me, my favorite actor on screen was definitely Lupita Nyong'o. I thought she did this so well. Like, when she said the king is dead, and just her whole, and I don't want to single her out, but I guess you have to, but everyone was so good. But I guess if I have to pick one, it would have to be her. Everyone was so good. And the script, I thought, was really, really, it kept you, and I know people twin off. You're right, Andrine. I felt like I wanted more. They were going back after the third time, I was just like, y'all should have explained this some more. Y'all should have had more. I felt I should have been treated to a Lord of the Rings trilogy special. Black Panther deserves it. If this is the kind of work they were putting into it, I am here for the trilogy, and I'm here for sitting down and watch all 8 hours in one sitting.
Oh my God!
They could pause it when I go to the bathroom, because I know movie theater drinks makes you go to the bathroom all the time. You were saying, Andrew?
No, Nina's like she's shocked by that. I think I'm here.
You were saying?
I'm curious about Janina's reaction. Janina, you didn't want it to go any longer, huh?
No, I was fine with it. Listen, I'm not a movie watcher. I'm not. So, I don't approach things the same way you guys do. I just want to be entertained. And I was.
Okay, Janina, let me ask you. So there were 17 movies before this one. This is the 18th movie that's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did you feel like you understood most of it, even if you hadn't seen the other 17?
Yeah, I did. And I said I appreciated that. I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel like I didn't know, key elements of the story because I'm not a part of that world. I didn't feel that way at all.
Because I had to convince one of my white friends to go see it, because her reasoning for not wanting to see it was she had superhero fatigue. She hated Justice League. She didn't like any of the DC stuff, but after Civil War, she just felt like there were too much going on. And I was like, but I swear to you, this movie is not like that. Like, So I'm
No.
glad that it captures people that haven't been with this for 10 years.
Can I
No,
ask? This was a point that I saw in the the AV review of it, the film club review. They talked about the fact that, and for people who watch these movies more, and that this in some ways that was the most comic book strip movie ever, in the sense that it was a self-contained world where even some of the fantastical elements like the rhinoceros and stuff, like people who sort of watch this uniquely different kind of way of telling the stories, Jasmine?
Mm-hmm.
And O?
I think, and I don't know, and I don't want to say that it's because these movies had Black people behind the scenes and on screen, but I felt like Black Panther and Luke Cage are very similar in that they strip away a lot of the hero and fantasy element and give you a story. And as you're watching it, you forget that you're watching a superhero story until someone jumps off of a cliff or until someone, gets hit with a bullet and it just bounces off of them. But I think that
I was genuinely interested in the story.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a subconscious thing that they're trying to keep a particular audience in mind, and maybe it's like its own stereotype within itself that our people don't watch that kind of stuff. Because I know when I was growing up, my family used to tell me all the time when I would tell them what kind of nerdy stuff I was into, they'd be like, "Oh, that's white people shit. Like, we don't do that." So I think that stripping it down sort of to make the superhero element not as prominent is also what's helping to propel it in the box office and in everywhere else the way that it is.
So you think that was intentional?
Yeah,
maybe.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of feel that there are so much, I guess, particularly this story, this and Luke Cage, I guess, in particular with Black Panther, there are so many different elements that makes it far more interesting. Like, T'Challa has shit to do. He has to run a kingdom. Okay, he has Iron Man doesn't have shit to do. Like he could be a playboy. Captain America is out to just put a bad guy in front of me, punch him in the face. He has real responsibility. There is a real conflict. I mean, yes, Clark Kent has a job, but I don't know who is his boss, because sure as hell he don't be showing up to work every time. He could just fly in and out and literally bring a story out of nowhere. And he got Lois to cover his ass for him anyway.
Lawrence Fishburne is his boss.
Don't you think in some level, though, it's because you're dealing with Black people? To some degree, if you have Black people with superpowers, there are certain natural questions that emerges out of that question, because Black people are people who are overall generally oppressed. Someone with a superpower within this world, I think it makes the story. Like, you can't just sort of like abstract yourself from it, right? Which is why I think Eric Killmonger is such an interesting character for people.
But if that were the case, then Thor would be along the same lines. Like Thor is supposed to be the successor to Odin, and it doesn't work in the Thor stories the way that it worked in Black Panther. And the first two Thor films are awful. I mean, but it's the same thing. Like, he's supposed to be taken over for his father.
That's what
he's supposed to be groomed.
But he's largely irresponsible, right? And the father just seems to always be there. They constantly treated like boys. Whereas T'Challa,
it has nothing to do with his responsibility.
Yeah, and T'Challa,
nothing to do with the responsibility.
When he goes to his ancestral plane, he's talking to T'Chaka. He's always like, "No, I want to be a good king. I'm not ready to do this without you." And you can see that in his own mindset, he's not ready to be king. And that's the kind of his inner conflict throughout the film is, how does he find that strength to not only take back his throne, but lead his people as well?
But he has to accept that responsibility. He accepts that responsibility. Thor tries to run away. Oh, I'm going to go out with Jane. I'm not going to be here. And he's constantly fucking shit up so that, his father pisses him off and expels him. In fact, he gets expelled from the kingdom. And he's away so long that Loki is able to kill the daddy or hide the daddy some way and take over. So, but T'Challa has a real responsibility there. People really counting on him. And there are expectations. No one expects Thor to do anything. So I think it sort of makes there's
it's a different question.
There's a issue here at hand that's going to make for far more interesting storytelling when it comes to T'Challa as opposed to Thor. because Thor is always about strength. You know, I'm gonna punch something, I'm gonna beat something with my hammer. T'Challa, I guess you constantly see the man as well as the Black Panther. That is always, they're two separate things. So there are always far more interesting questions to come. But but there is a point to be made, Andrina. You're right, that because it's Black people we're talking about here, there are gonna be a set of interesting questions that are going to be asked of them, and it's worth discussing. But I don't know if necessarily the comic books ever really deal with those issues. This is the first time I think, maybe I think Ta-Nehisi Coates may have dealt with these things in his, but that never really got anywhere. His Black Panther series was canceled. So, but I have to say, I was really impressed with the writing of this movie. I thought the story construction and everything. My issues with the movie had nothing to do with the writing per se. I was really, I was just like blown away by the whole thing.
I liked that I forgot it was a superhero movie until something super happened. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
I mean, you know, there really truly was a good story. It wasn't all about big, huge battles and who's going to win the battle. There was, you wanted the dialogue that went along with everything. I remember specifically the car chase.
Mm-hmm.
I totally forgot what I was watching until that happened. I was like, this is so not real. This would never happen. Like, I said that in my head. And I'm like, oh wait, this is a superhero movie. Like, I had that conversation with myself. So I don't know. I don't think most superhero movies are like that. I can't really say that I remember watching any other than bits and pieces here and there. But it's like there's always, it seems like there's always something extraordinary happening in a superhero movie. Always, constantly. There's always some reminder there. And that didn't have this. And that was good for me.
Because the main driver of plot is family drama. It's not, you know, some world-ending kind of stakes. It's, you know, let's go get the guy that wronged our family, you know, 20 years ago because he stole vibranium, or hey, you guys left me here 20 years ago and stuff. Now I'm going to take everything that you have. So it's all about that internal, you know, conflict of family, not something that's, you know, an outside threat.
Well, but I think it's the kind of reverse of most superhero movies, right? It's always like save the world, family drama next. This one put family drama first, and then save the world. Think about it. Contemplate saving the world if you want to. It's like,
but I think that's why this movie does so well. It's smaller, and in that regard, like some of the other Marvel movies, it's hard to get behind the villain because they're too big. Like, you know, in Infinity War coming up, you've got something like 43 confirmed superheroes that are going to have speaking roles, but 78 or something like that are actually going to be in the movie. Like, you're fighting a guy who wants to end the universe. It's not easy to wrap your head around. But in Black Panther, it's very like, I completely understand why Killmonger is doing what he's doing. It's relatable. Like, the villain is relatable, and that makes it easier for you to fall into the film.
And he wasn't like silly charismatic like a Joker was, but he was very. There were many things that he said. You were just like, you know what? I thought the same goddamn thing. I'm really.
You can sympathize with him.
You can sympathize even from the very beginning. The very beginning when you meet him for the first time, he says that thing when you go into museums all the time. Oh my God, look at this pretty art. But just like, all of this is stolen art. You know, like all of this is stolen from the people. You know, and then Becky came up there, and Becky was trying to do security patrol, and then
So can we talk about the villain? Can we talk about why this villain worked and why some people are leaving the movie going, Eric was right?
First of all, it helps. Let me just state the obvious. He looks fucking hot. He can get it any day, any night. I wouldn't spend the night with him because he got 400 confirmed kills. And that's what we have paper trails for. Okay? I know forensic science. You get lucky if you get caught, okay? And no, he can get it, but I'm gonna be leaving out the door if I can, hopefully. You know, he's a good shot. He can shoot good. So it always helped that, you know, that you have a really cute package. Okay, no one is feeling this way about Loki. You know what I mean?
Wait, what? Yes, we are. Absolutely. Loki could get it all day, every day, any day of the week.
Jasmine, you might not be able to see it right now, but I'm judging you. My eyes are judging you. Okay, I'm judging you. But yeah, so it helps. It helps that he has this, you know, like he looks good on screen and he brings it, you know. I guess we see, you know, it's how to develop the tropes that we, you know, like child often parent, where is the mother? No one knows. That never gets questioned or solved. And he showed up like a badass, like every scene. He was just doing the damn thing. He fucked up T'Challa. That always helps. He fucked up the hero. So that brings him sway with you. But, you know, I guess for people were like, I guess his concept or the philosophy or chain of thought where he was coming from, people were impressed by that. I'm just not done with his action.
Well,
I think it's easy to say that he was right because he's coming from a place of anger. But at the same time, Nakia had the same thought. She just was not as violent about it. So I think she was way more right than Killmonger was right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how, in a weird way, most people don't recognize that. I mean, because did you guys read the New Yorker piece from, I think it was Jelani Cobb, talking about, in some sense, no, maybe it was Adam Server, when they were talking about the idea that this is basically Reagan ideas wrapped up with a black package, and people were like, "Yes, let's go do it. Let's be imperialists." You know, we've already tried that. It was pretty unsuccessful. So, I mean, because basically, you know, his line is like, the sun won't set on the Wakandan Empire. I mean, that's the British philosophy. So it was interesting to see people leave the theater kind of energized by Killmonger's ideas, you know, not really thinking them through.
You know what?
Fully.
Those people were not leaving the theater with vibranium. That was the key to Eric Killmonger's plan. Vibranium. That shit don't exist. So calm the fuck down. Yeah, well, crazy. Vibranium was the key to Eric Killmonger's plan. And that shit isn't in existence. So we gotta find some other way to deal with these issues. And picking up guns was
no, but I mean, let's just take Eric's idea fully through. Like, what does that world look like that Eric is creating? Young,
but hold up,
it's the world we live in now. I mean, it's like the way that the U.S. goes in and we arm the rebels in this country so that they can fight the regime, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And it wouldn't work for Wakanda because as soon as, you know, the Avengers saw that vibranium weapons were out on the streets, they're coming straight for that country. So it's a instance of where, you know, your strength is going to invite challenge from, you know, people who are in control. You
create big problems, and you create big problems. And I assure you, Hulk will find a way in. Hulk will find a way in.
I never felt like Killmonger was a villain until, like, a true villain, like somebody that I didn't like. I never felt that until he came for the battle, the challenge,
the throne,
and then he was such a dick. It was that little piece that made him unlikable. I didn't feel like there was anything really inherently bad until you saw how he was going to treat people.
Okay. Wait. I just want to go back a little bit because I think it's kind of important to understand. We kind of look at Killmonger fully formed, right? We're looking at Killmonger fully formed. Let's go back. We were given information about Killmonger. One, Killmonger came upstairs and saw his daddy with Panther claws in his chest, dead. And dead on the ground like some bum on the street. And he was given information about Wakanda. He was told what Wakanda was. He clearly learned Wakandan language because he can speak it. And he was basically forgotten there, left there. No one, T'Chaka never came back and sent any information or sent one of the War Dog missionary. So there is that taken away and that I guess, stolen. That thing was stolen from him. His father was stolen from him without any questions or any information. Then he grows up in this world and know that this place exists because look at the right time. He can confirm Wakanda exists because Wakanda is at the UN. And there is all these people, T'Chaka and T'Challa is there. And it is said that T'Challa is about to be confirmed as the new king. He and T'Challa about the same age, close to being around the same age, not too far off. So he is coming with that kind of theme. So what he's looking at when he comes to Wakanda is basically a propped up monarchy and people who have basically just sort of like it almost seems like it's self-serving. He isn't aware that T'Challa doesn't know. T'Challa just found out this information yesterday. He doesn't know that. And the fact that T'Challa knows, he can only think that T'Challa knows this forever. So there is that motivation and that is working in his mindset that I think people sort of forget.
I think you're giving him more of that than the story allowed for.
How so? He says this.
No, but I mean, in his mind, the idea that he perceives this as a propped up kingdom, but this is a person who was CIA trained. I mean, he lived by a certain value system and a certain code for quite some time. This is not somebody who, if I follow your story, this is a person who heard about Wakanda. This has happened. You could go seek and find an entry to Wakanda. You didn't have to go through through MIT, through CIA, kill everybody to get to you. He says that. I killed everyone to get to you. He could have come to Wakanda and made a claim for the throne and actually have a legitimate right to it and rule however he wanted. But
he didn't want to rule. He wanted to take over the world.
He wanted to conquer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm not disputing any of that, but I would give him a certain level of latitude insofar as to say that I can understand where his anger comes from. His actions, I don't agree with. For him, because, I mean, honestly, the way in which Ramonda was looking at him, if he had showed up at that doorstep, they would have probably hired him and throw him something to the side. They wouldn't have, I mean, like, she's just like this charlatan. That's the first thing she said. She refused to believe that her husband would have done the thing that he said happened. And there was no who's gonna believe a child in a situation like that. So for me, I could see, okay, then you're going to the CIA, you're gonna be doing all these things.
He's not gonna show up as a child though. He's gonna show up as an adult. I just mean that his pathway, there were options for him to come into the space and legitimately take on the role as ruler. He didn't have to come but he came as a conqueror. But that's his values. That's
but understand that T'Challa did get training as well. T'Challa was trained for the throne. So Eric is getting his training, whether that be, like I said, I don't agree with his actions, but
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that he's getting imperialism training. He's getting Americanized training. That's the difference. So I think in some ways you have to look at the characters as kind of like representations of value systems.
Okay.
And you've got sort of a Wakandan trained person in T'Challa, and then you've got this kind of imperialist model that in some ways Eric represents. And it's interesting to see how compelling Eric is to people when we have this vision of kind of Black America as non-imperialist. But if you think about sort of Eric as representing kind of the Black American longing, it's weird to think that there's this assumption that as a Black American, he should enter an African country and demand that it acts on his own interests. Do you know what I mean? Like, Uganda has its own history.
More specific here. I thought was a question that can be asked. Yvette points out something. She's just like, I was turned off when he killed his girlfriend. And that's very significant to me. Because while we often notice in the African-American, I shouldn't say in the African-American experience, let me just say, in diaspora experience, we do know in our current time, we do know that Black women are not only fighting for agency in the wider world, they're fighting for agency in their own home. That they have realized that men within their own, Black men, are trying to oppress them just the same as they're being oppressed by the wider world. So no one thought to think, like Killmonger was fucked up. He just disposed of this girl like she was trash. When everything she did, she fucked up her little restaurant job in the museum. She fucked it up. I'm not saying that she was
She
like
did everything for him.
exactly. She took one of those. She took one of those breaks that we all want to take. Just walk the fuck out and never go back up. She did all of that.
I think Killmonger is the epitome of, on like a worldwide scale, the epitome of the pitfalls of extremism in any direction.
Yeah.
Because he saw his way as the only way. I think his disenfranchisement represents more than just like Black America. I think there are disenfranchised people all over the world.
Right.
And I think that it's easy for them to say, if I had the power, then I would do to them what they have done to me. And I just think his extremism is what makes him that villain. Like, it's if the story is at all heavy-handed, it's heavy-handed in the extremism that they put into Eric, I think.
And Killmonger has no, and he disposed, and often that did.
People don't read it that way. Do you know that's what's so interesting about Eric is people don't read him as extreme because there's such a strain of righting the wrong of the oppressed about him. Do you know?
I would say that there's two things that I'm going back to what I was saying a while ago. You're absolutely right, Andreen. I agree. And I just want to quote one thing and say something before that. It's just that the way in which in his world, he doesn't see the value of women. And that is problematic. And he shows this like 3 times. When he kills his girlfriend, his booty call, as he would have think of it. When he strangled Auntie, and Auntie was just being like, boo, let's save the flowers. He was just like, bitch, when I told you to do some shit, get it fucking done. He raised that woman off her feet by her neck. And the viciousness by which he went to attack Shuri, like, quote unquote, probably the weakest woman in action we saw on the screen. And that I think is right, because as you're right, as you said, mentioned Jasmine, extremism, most extremists are always men, and they have no value for women. They easily dispose of women. And we saw that in the very first scene when we see Wakanda and Wall, right? And I would say Audre Lorde said, the tools of the master's house cannot destroy itself. Something along those lines. So we can't use the same shit that they have used to break down a system that has oppressed us. We can't use oppressive tools.
No, because they've obviously perfected that system.
Yeah, we can't end oppression with oppressive tools.
Right. And
I think that was the lesson from Killmonger.
And to Andreen's point of how people are taking, Eric's position, it's more of, how are we conditioned to perspectives? And we are conditioned to respect someone who comes in, with bluster and bravado and force more than the soft power that Nakia was advocating for. So it's one where, Eric is advocating for, pretty much starting strife and war worldwide just to hopefully get, people of color on top. But at the same time, people are going to respond to that, even though that might be kind of shaky in terms of, how do we go forward? But people are going to respond to show of force more than they're going to say, hey, maybe we should start a community center.
But I mean, Eric sees himself only on top, and the thing that I found was really insane was that he believed in his what's the word I want to use? Not as an invincibility, but is in long, like almost he can live forever.
He saw no world. He saw no world beyond himself.
Right, and the world couldn't exist without him. And I was just like, boo, like, you're cute and all, and you're young, but no, I'm the fuck down. Like,
well, because that's the thing. Like, I can sign up for Eric's ideas until he burned the plant, because at that point in time, then you are signing up to be a dictator. Not a warlord, a dictator. You're a dictator because you're not going to recognize the natural ascendancy of others to the throne. Like when he says, for example, that we could rule them all. Because remember, Sterling K. Brown, his father, said the same thing. Right. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, this is interesting. Okay, we could rule them all. We can free them and then rule them all. But then I was like, well, rule them how? because
They kept
you're going to
saying
rule
the
them
right
like a despot
way.
then.
They kept saying the right way. I'm like,
The
what is the right way
And
to
I was
rule
like,
people?
well, I mean, if you believe in rules, right? If you believe in a ruler, like if you believe in like a sort of like a a kind ruler or whatever, you could say, okay, fine, I'm signing up with this. Go free people with your weapons and then rule them from a distance, I guess, as an emperor. But then you're not signing on for a legitimacy to the throne because you don't care. You've already destroyed everything. So I was just like, in some ways his plan just kind of fell apart in a compelling way at that point for me. But I was fully on with him all the way because I was like, okay, fine, let's ask this question. Like, let's ask what it would be like if vibranium weapons were used.
He was cute.
Free
He
black
was cute. That's all I
That
read.
was where his plan stopped. It was we're gonna arm the people that are oppressed, and they're gonna rise up against their oppressors. That's it. End of story. Full stop. And it's like,
I know.
That doesn't work. It never, ever works. Look at Game of Thrones. Like, Daenerys comes into Marine, she frees the slaves, and then everything falls to shit, and she can't understand why it's happening that way. And it's like, you went in without a plan. Like, your plan was give these people the ways to get out from under their masters, and then you're like, I'm going to sit on the throne, and everybody's going to be fine with it. It's like, it doesn't
that is no, and let me just qualify. That is no way of saying that we should leave slavery until we have a plan. But these people need the thing that T'Challa and the key is giving them. They need information. They need resources. They need a path to success of being able to survive.
But hopefully not a puny path, though. Not a puny path.
Well, we don't know what
like
that
T'Challa's
looks like,
UN
right?
speech.
But you know what?
I mean, that's what's so interesting.
But you know what? Let me just say something. I'm going to go back to you see, I love my sister Nakia, but Nakia, girl, you're in the Nigerian forest with Boko Haram. You just save these women. You leave these women in the same fucking forest. You need to take them home. You need to take them home.
She said, go home.
Go home. Oh, you disabled all the trucks. How are they gonna go home? and then Okoye just like speak nothing of this. No one's gonna trust them. They're gonna be like, wait, you left with Boko Haram. What are you doing back here? You probably got a bomb on you. No. You need to take these people back home, Sister Nakia. I mean, you got a T'Challa, he got a super jet engine, whatever. You gotta pick these women up and drop them off.
Drop them off home.
Drop them off home. They can't go home. Like, what the hell, Nakia? Girl.
His coronation was the next day. Come on. He was on the time frame.
They could have waited. You can't coronate if the king isn't there, right? They could have waited.
Oh my god!
Look, I got it in the third. That really bothered me. It's just like, what are we doing? You can't leave the women in the forest. Come on now. But
that bothered you more than in 1992. T'Chaka was hot as hell, and by 2016 he was old as fuck.
look. I actually want to talk about something. I want to talk about something, but later on. I don't want to talk about it just now.
Aging happens really quickly.
But there is a whole. But you know what? He looks like T'Chaka looks like a wrestler who has had his body beaten, and then he just can't go on anymore. You know that when you're not training as rigorously as possible, that weight just comes on top of you like it's nobody's business.
Once he was stripped of the Black Panther powers, everything.
Yeah,
I think he had given it up. They don't indicate this, but But
does your body like age automatically as soon as you give up the Black Panther power? Your body goes, I'm really
anymore. Right? Taking a lot of blows. Remember, Shuri just invented this that suit that Batman wish he had. I mean, like all the other time you were feeling those blows. You're definitely feeling when you got punched and knocked to the head. So let me look up my agenda if we have anything. We talked about the T'Challa manga. So I guess we should just mention, like the token white guy situation people felt was in the movie and whatever.
You're pronouncing it wrong. They are the Tolkien white guys.
I'm getting school. Look. Nobody's gonna drag me for Tolkien, okay? I I read the Lord of the Rings series, okay? So I think I get prize if I want to say Tolkien or Tolkien. But yes, they are the
I won
Tolkien
a
white
trophy
guys.
in college for giving a speech on Tolkien and speaking Sindarin in front of a crowd full of people.
All right. I bow
well,
down to you,
well,
Jasmine.
look
I
at
bow down
you.
to you. I bow down to
You
you.
were owned by a bigger nerd than you, Reels.
I'm
Woo,
telling
do
you
it.
right now.
Jasmine
I love it.
is our Shuri.
I love it. Black nerds on the rise.
So
I mean, I think, you know what? Let's be honest. I think you needed a white face in this movie for white people to go see it.
I mean,
We've
I
already
couldn't
know.
put it
We
any
already
other
know
way. I
that.
couldn't put it any other way.
We already know that audiences have said that if a movie is overwhelmingly filled with Black people, the perception is that it's a Black movie. So there needed to be some space for a person to enter, which I thought, you know what I thought was really fascinating? It was really interesting to watch like a white character on screen and not have the story center
Be
around
central?
that character's point of view.
Yes.
Like that was really unusual to it. It's kind of like how Get Out took that first opening scene and that person's walking in supposedly a nice neighborhood, but because you're entering it from a Black male perspective, you suddenly see the suburbs differently.
We knew.
It's like
we knew.
But the difference in the way that they did that when they put their quote unquote token white guys in there, at least they made sense to the story as opposed
Yes, they
to
did.
just
Yeah.
He was
people
still
in there like they
effectual.
throw black faces in other movies.
The sassy Black girlfriend.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
the
he was
sass-
still an effectual character. The action he took was still useful. He still made sense in the world.
He just said white people.
Um,
I mean, I can't. I love it.
You know,
Thank
but I
you.
think it's useful. It's useful to have him in the story. I mean, it was interesting because people were like, "Oh, he didn't need to be there," but it's also, I mean, in some ways, it also connects the MCU too, right? That's a useful tool to have him there.
Of course, because they had to pull in the Avengers since Black Panther leads directly into Infinity War. So they pulled in Ultron with bringing Klaw back, and then they pulled in Civil War again with keeping Everett K. Ross there.
Mhm.
well, for me, Everett K. Ross is a useful character for white people. This is how you behave when you go to Black countries and Black people's place. You respect it. You show your manners. You don't try to go in and roll it because you see something you like. And can I have it? I want one of those. No. You go into some place that you don't, and you respect it. When you go into foreign spaces, you respect it and respect their culture, respect their norms, and try to learn from that. Maybe you might try to come back and conquer it. Maybe, who knows? But don't go in there trying to act like your own shit and you know better than these people. And that to me, what I found refreshing, that he was in, I think they took out some sequences that were in the trailers but was in the movie. Like in the trailers, he mentioned, he mentioned his awe. He describes his awe of being in Wakanda, that he had seen fantastical things before, but this was something completely different because this was actually happening on Earth. All of the fantastical things that he had seen, they were all alien beings, outer-worldly experiences and people. But these were humans doing the thing that other humans imagined were not possible at this time. And this was all happening in Africa, a place that he was just like, what? All of this is happening? I thought he was useful for that. And I liked how, it goes back to our theme of like this being a family drama when they're trying to save the world, is that the Wakandans decided that they're going to deal with the family drama underground instead of trying to stop the weapons from going outside. They're like, let the white guy do that. Let him deal with that problem. We're going to deal with the family drama underground. Like, no, the family drama underground will probably take care of itself. You don't want all the vibranium weapons outside in the world because that's going to be a problem. Because they're going to have the same weapons that you have and they can foreseeably get into your kingdom. So that would have been priority for me. But I thought he was very, and I must say, I did enjoy Klaw. I thought he was hilarious. I thought he wasn't the funniest thing on screen, but he was entertaining. He wasn't as obnoxious as he has been in the past.
Now, see, Klaw is the generic type of Marvel villain that if the Russo brothers had been writing this, the whole freaking movie would have revolved around Klaw being that type of villain.
Right.
And that's in contrast. I mean, in contrast to Eric, that's when you realize that it's really important to have a villain that makes sense, so that the emotional stakes of the stories remains resonant, you know? Because if you had Klaw, it's like, okay, that's fine. But to have Eric, where you are also drawn to the villain's plan, because there's some element of it that's you too, it just makes for a different kind of investment in the overall telling of the tale. By the way, I wanted to know, do you think this is just a structural issue for me? Do you think the reason why the father failed to catch Klaw, just in terms of the storytelling, is because he was afraid of the whole thing coming out ultimately?
I think they allude to that. Yeah,
they allude to it several times. Even when T'Challa's confronting T'Chaka about why didn't you bring the boy home, he says in that monologue, you let your fear of us being exposed, cloud your judgment, to something to that effect. So, it's one of those things, they have the vibranium, he's just going to let him go, and, he's trying to get out of Oakland as quick as possible after he just killed his brother. So
that's why he was never able to support, the friend. What's the friend's name? The friend in blue?
Zuri. Hold up. Before we go, I don't like, first of all, let me just say, Zuri, young Zuri, and Forrest Whitaker, excellent casting. You cast an eye. You people got the eye in the young man and the Forrest Whitaker eye.
The right eye.
Right eye. I mean,
isn't that his son?
I don't know. Is this?
No, that actor's name is Denzel Whitaker.
Yeah, that's his son.
It's Forrest Whitaker's son?
No, they have the same
related.
name, but they're
not. They're not related.
But young T'Chaka and old T'Chaka are
they are father and son.
But I don't know. I mean, Denzel Whitaker, you need to go talk to your mommy, because get a DNA test, boy, because Forrest Whitaker, the eyes have it, boy. That is your daddy.
Drifting to the left.
But that takes on a whole other role. That's in a whole other character. But that first scene.
Well, before the reveal, did you guys know before the reveal? Because it's funny, they say his name several times, but I just didn't pick it up.
They say James. Sterling K. Brown calls him James. When he's like, "Oh, you ratted me out, James," and so it didn't dawn on me until it was the actual.
Well, I mean, it was very clear. It's very clear how much he trusts James, right? Because the little boy, Killmonger, Eric, calls him Uncle Zuri. He knew him as his uncle.
But, he said Uncle James.
Uncle James. But the fact that when the Dora Milaje came in, he didn't ask him to leave. He said, "I trust this guy with my life."
But he didn't know, though.
I mean,
I'm talking about the reveal in the midway through the movie, when you realize that Forrest Whitaker is actually that person. Like, the name said a few times, but it's just one of those things that rolls through your head. You don't hear it until the context for you to hear it.
Right. Because
T'Challa calls him that several times.
Well, he introduces himself as the Zurian son of whoever he said he was the son of.
But there was a lot of things going on at that time, though. I wasn't listening to James talking. I was listening to Njobu telling me, "You betrayed me, James. James, you betrayed me." Like what? Like
you're Wakandan?
Yeah. Although it wasn't until the second viewing that I realized why Killmonger said, "I'm going to take you to Uncle James." I was like, "Who the fuck is Uncle James?" Oh, right, that was his name in Oakland. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
This is why the movies won several viewing.
Okay, everybody in the chat room is talking about the accents. Do you guys have any Black Panther accents you want to play with?
Panther.
Well,
wait, who is that? Do it again.
The Black Panther.
Black Panther.
No, I like Panther.
No.
The power of the
Black Panther.
I enjoyed it. But you know what?
I'm sticking with Juries, which is just British.
But I mean, so don't, right? Because I think for most of the other people, you could have seen like where tribe they came from, but he just seemed like the guy in purple, right? Like, which is what I'm thinking. So I'm assuming he might be an outsider since Njobu didn't know him before. So I mean, that might be it. But I mean, like, I am not gonna get it. I'm not gonna be Dragon Forest, but it could be because he played. I mean, like, excellent. I mean, like, everyone came 100.
Zenobia says we've done all the accents wrong. We're terrible at this.
I didn't do any.
Colin, Zenobia, Colin.
I read.
He says like Cardi B says black.
Wait. What do you think? Oh,
Yeah. No, I just read an article recently about the accent consultant on the film and how she was trying to make it uniform across all the characters, but just let them flow into what they needed to in the cadence and the accent that they had. So it could represent that, Wakanda is diverse. It is, 5 tribes together or with one apart. So it's not going to be consistent and across everybody. So
honestly, I just think Forrest Whitaker did a less angry version of his Last King of Scotland accent.
Yeah, I think though I've seen a critique. I think I was reading a Nigerian writer's critique online, and I think she had problems with the shifting act. It sort of like was somewhat disruptive, but I mean that's a fair point. Who was trying to make she came from multiple tribes, but I also thought like with Nakia, she was traveling outside all the time. She was a spy. Right. She would slip in and out in different ways. But it doesn't make sense why why Shuri's accent isn't like closer to her brother's, to be honest. Well, even though the brother went to what, probably like Oxford or something. But
no, he didn't. They were absolutely clear he didn't go to Oxford. They were absolutely clear.
So where did he go?
He was educated in Wakanda.
They were educated in Wakanda because he speaks Korean as well.
Yes,
he
understood it. Yeah,
he understood. But I think also, I mean, but all of our accents are not consistent though. Even if I'm saying in place, accent denote education, it denotes sort of like experience, just your general, I mean, way to talk. And I mean, like, they were trying to do justice with I mean, like, they had to speak both Costa, which is, I can't even get the click right, and they had to speak English. So I wasn't even mad about that, because to me, what I admire was the effort. They really made an effort. They spent hours. It was almost like they had to learn Italian. They put that effort into it. And I think to me, it was just like, you're nitpicking, because I'm sure if I set up in the middle of Lagos, Nigeria, everyone wouldn't sound the same. They just won't. They would all have
I think it's
Nigerian accents, but
I think it's an important critique for people who are actually from Africa if they find that problematic.
For me, Chadwick Boseman sounded too much like Nelson Mandela, and I was just like, Nelson wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. No, T'Challa, no.
I heard a lot of people have problems with Klaw's accent from his South African accent.
Why?
Look,
they said
because it was South African.
It wasn't very South African.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to hear that there was somebody on the set, because I was thinking to myself, well, that'd be the weirdest part for the movie to fall down on. But if there was actually a consultant who was somewhat mindful of that, well, then that clearly was a choice. Obviously, everything is a choice in a movie, but sometimes people are sloppier than others. We know actors don't know how to do accents and they just give up.
I mean, I like Kevin Costner, Robin Hood. Kevin Costner was like, American accent. Hey, Robin is from the hood, okay?
You know what though? We haven't talked about, I think, what is the strongest thing about this movie? The women.
And what is it?
I love the black people.
Well, we're gonna come to that. I mean, like, I wanted to deal with the bad part first, and then we're gonna get to the real exciting part. The ladies. Let me just say, as the homosexual of the podcast, I live for Nakia and Denai and Okoye. Okoye in that red dress. Everything. That is everything in that movie for me. That red dress.
I want to start spear training because of Okoye.
Goals. Get your goals right. I love it.
But seriously though, can we talk about the fact though that each of the women had a through line in terms of their own story, which is so difficult to do in a movie with multiple characters, but yet Nakia has her own story arc. Okoye has her own story arc. Even Shuri, to some degree, has a bit of an arc of a tale for herself, along with Killmonger and T'Challa. Like, how is that possible?
Everyone on screen Everyone who
It's
was on
possible
screen.
when you have conscious writers that are trying to make individuals as opposed to writing a group story.
Exactly.
Shade.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
That's the truth. That's true.
Well,
That's what it is.
I also want to draw your attention to a couple things. Well, one thing we shared that thing with Ryan Coogler breaking down the scene in Korea, and it was so interesting to hear him talk about how he wanted to write the women. Which, you know, somebody, I think we all follow her. I think it was Tressie, I think, who on Twitter said, it was so great to watch a man who actually likes Black women write Black women. And it's so clear. But
absolutely.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting that he said that he wanted to sort of flip the feminists as both soft and hard, like to make it work. And I just thought that that's such an interesting thing to play with in a movie with Black women, because I think in real life, that's what Black women do well. It's like we don't often make that choice. We're not like, we're going to be soft or we're going to be hard. We're like doing both at the same time and making it work.
And for him, strong Black woman didn't represent to be a literal meaning, right? Big buff, big muscle woman on screen a la Amazons.
Or not, though, because I think all of those women were equally capable. I don't think it was making those physicality choices. I just meant, you know, capability.
Well, no, I mean, like they weren't in the background hulking, which is what when we want to say strong Black woman, they're in the background hulking, and then but you had a group of women, the Durham Elijah, and they look fierce, look like they want to fuck with them, but they weren't hulking in the background. They had a specific, you understood what they were doing there, and you were just like, oh, they're just here in the background. And definitely one of the best part of the movie, just Black people were everywhere in all different places in the casino in Korea, and they didn't look awkward. You were more like, why are these white people here? It should be as opposed to like, you know, you felt like they belong, and they operated like they belong in every place in every sphere of the world. And that's what I really enjoyed about this movie. One of the things I enjoyed. The red dress, though, amazing.
Oh my God, the red dress, the spear, the car, everything.
My favorite part was when Nakia told Okoye, when she says to Okoye, just whip it back and forth.
Whip it back and forth.
It looks nice. Just whip it back and forth. I was like, Okoye was just, I'll slap this bitch. I'm gonna slap Sister Nakia upside her head right now.
But even the reaction that both of them have to that is such a part of who their characters are, right? Because you've got Nakia, who's a spy, and the idea is that she's capable of wearing and doing anything. She's not going to have a problem with it because that's her job, right? Is to blend in and do what's needed. But then you've got somebody like Okoye, for whom like the shaved head is so important because it represents who she is in terms of her role as general.
Right.
So, I mean, and it was interesting to see her because that's obviously not something that she would normally need to do, right? Be out in the world acting like a spy, because that's not necessarily her task. Right. That tension between the two of them come to head right after T'Challa is killed, and they have that conversation, which I think is one of my favorite.
Oh my God. Oscars. They deserve the awards for that scene alone. The Viola Davis that shit. Again.
Which one?
So,
what are you talking about?
I mean, it's where they really have to talk about what they're going to do after T'Challa is dead. And the fact that you actually have to see both of them in their role, the choices they make is starkly related to who they have been in terms of their character. One is a spy, which means I'm going to do what I want to do. And one is a general, which means I'm beholden to the country.
Exactly.
I just thought that through line for that is just, I mean, that's just really interestingly written. You just never see women understand themselves and their place in the world in movies in that way. I mean, Wonder Woman left the man that left her group of women and was like, bye, and was crying over some dude she met 2 days. You know what I mean? It's like I'm just saying, it's just like they had core central characterizations that held throughout the movie.
But they also were very different sides of like the same coin. One was very focused on duty to country, and the other one was very focused, as opposed to serving the country, she was focused on saving the country. And you know, they're both doing their patriotic duty, but they both had such different feelings on how that should go.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that bear out. And then they continued down that road. I mean, Okoye changes her mind when it becomes clear that the king is unfit, right? She was willing to go along with Eric until it becomes clear that he's not even willing to follow any rule.
Well,
No, she didn't change her mind until she saw T'Challa.
Well, it's still alive.
Yeah. And then also, but
Mm-hmm.
But then that battle when she says you have no honor, because she's like, hello.
Look,
Oh,
Eric
she
Killmonger.
never liked Eric. She was going to serve Eric because that was her duty, to serve the head of the throne of Wakanda. But she didn't say that to him until she realized that the actual king was still alive.
Well, they had a different relationship though. Like she and T'Challa had a much more open and honest relationship where she can say shit to him. You know, from the very beginning when he just like, don't worry, Okoye, you don't need to come. And she was just like,
don't freeze.
Yes, I know. No, first of all, she put back her spell like that black woman scene. Like just like this man don't know what he's doing. A woman is always right, but you know what? I'm just gonna let you go fuck it up first, and then I'm gonna save your ass, which she did. Well, didn't need to save him, but I mean everything that.
But she did actually. She didn't remain silent with Eric. Like in that council speech, she talked about what her position was. Yeah, and definitely. She said what she needed to say. I'm just saying, like, the authenticity of each person's moral code remained throughout the movie. They didn't shift it, which I thought that's really difficult to do in a movie, because usually you want a character to do what's convenient, but to have a character do what they need to do, even when it's hard. That's why that scene between her and Nakia is so, like, kind of astonishing.
I think as an audience, though, we've just gotten so used to lazy writing that we have come to accept that.
No, I'm not used to lazy writing.
You get inconsistent characters throughout the film, and we accept it.
No, actually, Andrina and I talk about it to death afterwards. We're just like, what is this just happening? And that's why Janine is just like, y'all kill movies for me. You kill the movie.
I missed that piece. What are we talking about?
No, I was saying that Jasmine said, we're so used to lazy writing. And I said, no, we're not used to lazy writing. Andrina and I talk about the movie to death. Be like, could you believe they did this shit? And that's why Janina has to say, you all kill movies to me.
Well, I mean, it's hilarious. Like, I watched Scandal until the characters stopped making sense. And I was like, I got to go. Because when a character doesn't make sense anymore, it's just when you're making them do things.
Yeah, and for an action movie, this did this so well, because I was watching, I think the next best movie I saw for recently was Wonder Woman. It wasn't that great, but it was okay. And then there was so many times I'm just like, girl, what? Like,
why are you making those choices?
What are we doing? Like, and I'm like, girl, why the fuck are you bringing these men with you? They're bums. You need your home girls. Which is what T'Challa did. T'Challa got his home girls.
But that's different. And with the Amazons, once you leave, you can't come back. So she didn't ask anybody to go with her.
But it's also the thing. It's interesting, right? It's the tension, right? Because if you look at it on a sort of like, I mean, this is what I do, but if you look at it, that's what white women have to do when they make choices. They have to make themselves less for their men. That's just what's taught in movies. White women, you have to be less so that your men aren't threatened. So even though Wonder Woman is capable, and the only time she's actually allowed to be capable is when she crosses that damn field, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" Well, yeah, honey, she actually can do that. But in this movie, you have
that movie, right? We got the bummy man trying to help her get at the top of the building. This bitch pushed a tank. He pushed a tank. Okay, he pushed the tank out of the way. I think she can get upstairs by herself. She don't need a shield.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting that the black women in this movie, or the women in general, were allowed to be fully themselves. Because I mean, I think I saw a speech from Lupita, and she talked about the fact that we didn't have to talk about feminism; we can live it. Right. And the characters lived feminism because they were capable, they were able to love, they were able to challenge themselves, they were able to do whatever they wanted to do in a fully realized way.
And they were appreciated, and
they weren't questioned.
They weren't questioned.
They weren't questioned. Nobody questioned their motives. No one questioned their ability to do anything. They let them do what they said that they were going to do,
and that they're capable of doing.
Yeah, but
so let's talk about something, because Before this afternoon, I had a conversation with our friend of the pod, Shani or Shawnee, whoever he's going to be today, right?
Okay.
And he says to me, "Are you guys really doing a podcast on Black Panther?" And I said, "Yeah, we are." He said, "Why?" He goes, "Is this going to be one of those situations where, like you're at work and it could have been an email? I feel like this could have been an email. Why do you need to talk about this?" And I said, "Listen, I'm not a movie watcher like they are." I said, they're going to break this down to places I didn't even consider. I'm prepared for that. I said, but people asked us to do it, so we're going to do it. He goes, but is it just all hype? He hasn't seen it. He says he's going to see it. But he said, is this just all hype? I mean, I feel like we're making a big deal out of something. He's like, so what? Yeah, I get it. There's a bunch of Black people on screen. I said, he made me think about something. And the way that I explained it to him as to why it was important, I said, first of all, we don't know if it's important yet. Because he says, is this movie really going to have that big of an effect on our culture? He says, Bollywood is huge in India with them. Does this transcend Black people? I said, well, yeah, it does. He said, how do you know? I said, the box office. But I said to him, listen, I had this conversation with my best friend the first time Obama was elected, and she asked me why I thought it was such a big deal. And I said, because your son, a little white boy, has never looked at the leader of this country and not seen himself. I said, so now you've got an entire cast, it's probably more than 90%, but I don't know, percent cast of Black people, not typecast on screen. I said, you have strong women, you have strong men, and they're Black, and they're not thugs, they're not drug dealers, they're not whores, they're not slaves. People. They're not slaves. I said, we haven't seen that. I said, and you know what else? It's interesting. And I don't want to use this as a qualifier, but I think it will resonate with some people. I think you can switch out every single one of those characters and put a white person in it, and it still makes sense. It isn't based on just it being a group of Black people. It is the story itself that's powerful. It's a bonus that it's Black people for us.
Well,
see, I mean, I
don't know that we're interchangeable. I don't.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I think part.
But I definitely agree that this is not a Black film.
Yeah.
This is not Soul Plane.
No.
No, but I don't want to say that we are interchangeable. I don't mean that. Maybe that's the wrong word, but I don't think the story itself is any less powerful if the cast is a different cast.
I don't think the story is universal, though. I mean, I think this is one of the, why this is important is, I think, a really key question, but I think it's important to note that whiteness is the default, which is why it's easy to say you could switch out these people for white people and it would still be the same. But what I think what's important to this is that Blackness is allowed complexity, which is traditionally how whiteness is written. And so this is why it's so interesting, this tension between universality and particularness or specificity. I think it's just really important to honor a specific story and then be able to find the universality in it. Because I think this is Black Panther's story. These are African traditions woven into the tale. This is the tension between the African diaspora and Africa. I mean, I think those are really specific. And that's what's also resonant in the story. But one of the things that we talked about is that we can see imperialism in Eric. So there is a universality there. But I still think specificity matters. I still think that this matters because it is Black people on screen. And so, I don't know if that was clear, but I think it's really key for us to see Black people as complicated, nuanced characters with motivations that are just all over the map and human. And
I hate that we have to defend this movie that way. Nobody had to defend Hogwarts. Nobody has to defend Alderaan or Tatooine or any fucking world in the Star Wars universe. We don't have to defend these other fantasy realms. Why do we have to defend Wakanda?
I know,
And-
which is so interesting that people have been demanding that it be done.
Yeah, like
And-
and
Of course
that's
they
people's
are.
first like layer of defense. Like, oh, everybody's getting so excited, but this place isn't real. Yeah, well, how many kids are still waiting on their letter from Hogwarts?
Thank you very much. And how many of us have, how many of
Me?
y'all have learned Elvish? How many of y'all learn Elvish? How many of you speak fucking Elvish?
Where's my owl?
What about
Fucking owl.
all of the girls that watched the Hunger Games or read the Hunger Games and felt empowered as a young girl
Yes.
to go out there and do something? You
And I
cannot
shared that.
take that away from underrepresented people. This kind of stuff matters. It gets the imagination
Exactly.
going. And unless you see it for yourself, you never think that you can do anything like that. You just don't.
Like Shuri.
I did share that.
Talk about how
Andreen had-
transformative Shuri is.
Yeah, and the representation is also mirrored in the film at the last scene, where it's about, we're going to be a bigger presence in the world. They're going to see us, and by seeing us, this will help them, not only with the humanitarian aid and the science exchange and all of that, but it's just about the sight of when that the Bugatti spaceship appears and all those black kids are transfixed by it. It's one of those things that we're seeing it, and we're seeing that this black guy over here is the one that owns this. It's not Tony Stark. It's not anybody else. It's T'Challa.
Yep.
And you know what? If Obama wasn't important, people wouldn't be trying to erase him. And that's, I mean, I think, and one of the things somebody says, so a couple of people have been DMing me this week about the Parkland kids. And let me just say, think about that. Those kids were raised with 8 years of a sober, intelligent, seemingly wise, measured adult as president. And that person was black. That is huge. Huge.
Yep.
And for people who think that it's, it was not useful or meaningful, I mean, I think dig a little deeper.
Well, look at what Shuri. Look at her. Where do we see a movie? And I did say this to Sean. I said the most knowledgeable person in the movie as far as technology and who is creating all of this stuff for them to be powerful is a woman. We don't see that. Nobody
Do you know, when I was younger and I was just getting into computers, my tape measure for, oh my God, black people can do this, was John Sally in Bad Boys.
Yeah. Wow.
That's it. Like, that was it. I was like, oh my God, this is a black dude and he's like a hacker. That's amazing. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't judge
people
me, okay?
don't. People.
Hacker.
It's okay. You can still be a hacker.
But this is why I mean, what's his name? Oh my God, yeah, the television D.L. Hughley. He said, you know what? I saw this movie, and you know what? Everything is a learned behavior. A lot of things that white people do and everyone do, they learn this behavior from television. It's the reason why they're going on about fucking gun control and guns and what this gun, because they learn that bullshit from some Western movie and believe that's how life really is. And some combat movie. That's where they learn this shit. And he said it's really important that people see themselves on screen. Because in Asian countries, they make their own movies. They are the center of their universe. They're not some sidekick and some martial arts friend, only the friend to some white people. No, white people are the token people in their stories. And because look so much Korean movies on Netflix, and they're not being quote unquote stereotypical. They're being themselves. They're being human. Nigeria has a thriving movie scene, even Australia. And all these, India, and these places are making stories about themselves because they can't wait for Hollywood. And they understand the importance of seeing themselves on screen and fully realized human being with full agency over their body. Because they recognize the money they can get from it, from making good movies about themselves, and also what it matters and how it resonates within the community. So people step the fuck off.
Well, Andreen, talk about how you said, after you saw it one of your 11 billion times, that the children were, going up to the posters.
And put it on my I put it on my Instagram, because I was coming out of the movie theater and there were these black kids, I'd say maybe 10 and under. And they were running up and pointing at Shuri and pointing at T'Challa. And they were like saying they were those people. I'm like, sorry. I mean, it's just like, that's really powerful because it's powerful and transformative to imagine that, listen, people are going to be dreaming of themselves in these roles. I mean, media is really compelling. And to be able to, first of all of us are dreaming in Wakanda. Now, when we say things, we can say this is Wakandan. And there's like a collective language that we all are speaking to when we say this. When we say Wakanda forever, there's a sensibility that we're speaking to, right? And so I think for young kids whose minds are sort of like more tenuously put together at that moment, there's somebody who's going to look at Shuri and say, there's a possibility there. And I think that's just really important work. So, I mean, the idea that someone is looking and go, why are you curious about a movie filled with all Black people? I mean, that's also just an interesting question, because how would you feel watching a movie with all gay people being competent and not dying right after you fall in love? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
You know, like, imagine that. You know, let's create these contexts. Let's create movies where, you know, being who you are doesn't equal a death sentence in some way. So I think we can always look at representation as really valuable. And you know what? It obviously is valuable because people are threatened by it on some level. And that tells you a lot on some strange. I mean, people have been trying to destroy Black joy about Wakanda all week.
But people understand the importance of like fantasy and letting kids have that creative outlet. And
Black children are not
look
children.
at how far science fiction has come, and look at how much of science fiction has dictated the technological path that we take. When back in the 40s and the 50s, you had people doing teleporters and stuff, and now we have cell phones.
And cell phones was on Star Trek.
Yeah. I mean, Star Trek is what allowed people to dream of certain things. Yeah. And then they actually were inspired, and then they went into a lab and they tried to create.
Yeah, let's figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
I know. Well, it's really inspiring in a certain way. But no, I mean, yeah, it is. You know, what's funny though?
I want to hear from O. I have a question. Have your parents? Has your mother watched?
My parents have not seen it yet. I think we're going next week, and go see it as a family.
I took my mom.
What did she say?
She loved it. She loved it. My mom is the reason that I'm into comics in the first place. So
why?
She loves Batman, so she's where I get my Batman love. But she was always the person that would encourage me to read weird things. Like, I read a lot of vampire stuff when I was younger. We used to watch a TV show, Beauty and the Beast, with Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, my mom and I have always been watching the sci-fi kind of stuff, the stuff that's a little bit off. So she called me. Like, I bought 8 tickets to 2 different showings in January. And I didn't know who was going to go with me, but I bought the tickets and I just put it out there like, hey, if you want to go, I'm going on this date, this time. I have tickets. Let me know. So she probably called me like 2 weeks before it came out. And she said, okay, that Black Panther movie is coming out. I said, I got you. Don't worry. You just need to be available Saturday at 11 a.m. and I'll pick you up. So it was just one of those things. Like, of course she was going to go. She was going to go with me because that's the kind of relationship that we have. Like, we share nerdy things together.
What about your father and your brother?
My dad watches Western movies and nothing else. The last movie he saw in theaters was True Lies.
True Lies with Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes.
Oh my God. Janina, I think I found your spirit animal.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even think your child was alive when True Lies came out, Janina. I don't
1994.
think so. Oh my God.
After
when T'Chaka was hot.
Would you like to it'll be over.
I see you, Adrien. I see you about to dump Monty and run over to Wakanda and get married.
Listen, I'm ready to be Wakandan for the visa.
Come here.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get a child's perspective. Hold on.
Oh, that's funny.
So wait. So I have a question.
You get your child?
Oh, Janina's gonna bring a little child.
I'm trying. Stop.
Well,
Come Come here. This is Jaden. Jaden will talk. Put these on.
Okay.
Sit down.
Jaden, tell us.
Say hello and introduce yourself. Talk into the mic.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Don't talk like that. Talk regular.
What did you think of the movie Black Panther? Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I liked it.
What about it you like?
Violence.
I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
Killmonger.
You see, this is why your president said we need a rating system for movies, because there wasn't any before. What about the violence you enjoyed? Which part of where exactly in the movie you enjoyed the most?
Close to the last part where the bad Black Panther slit that person's throat.
Oh my god.
Okay, Janina, I think we're gonna get some forensic files. I think you're hinting at something that I think we discussed earlier. I think you very much are hinting at something. And what of the part did you like? What of the part did you like?
Who was your favorite character?
Black Panther.
Which one? You said the bad Black Panther or the good Black Panther?
I like the good one.
Okay, well that's good. Whew. You almost frightened me a while ago. Oh, Tony wants to know which one is this? Is this your son Janina? Or this is his best friend. Janina, she can't hear her.
You done?
They want you back.
Okay. He said they want you back. That wasn't my son. That was Jaden. That was Micah's friend.
Okay. He just reminded me that Killmonger killed another black woman again. Fucking Killmonger. What the fuck is wrong with you? You killed one of the girls my last year. I forgot that part. I was like, God damn Killmonger. I cannot get with that program at all. But I want to talk about what I'm sorry?
We're sure that he killed her, because my first take of that was that she sacrificed herself to get out of the way. When she said Wakanda forever.
Oh, let me just say, Eric Killmonger, had it not been for that suit, those ones were going to kick your ass. They were going to kick your ass. That suit was fucking up everything. But Eric Killmonger those ones were getting hits on him before, more than T'Challa. I'm just saying. I
like when they almost got him in the circle or in that.
Right. With the, but I mean, that suit was just
removing the necklace. That would have been nice.
Did you believe for 1 second that he was dead?
Oh, no, of course not. But it was emotional enough that the audience did.
I want to talk about Wakanda for a minute, since we are Wakanda forever. Something I think we may not have my issues. We only saw upper class Wakanda. Yep. We don't know what's happening in middle class Wakanda or lower class Wakanda, if there's such a thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you know that it exists?
It does, because there's graffiti in the market.
Maybe it might be some bored rich boy doing that. You never know.
No, you totally just took it there.
But I think M'Baku hints at that too in the confrontation with T'Challa, when T'Challa asks him to come in. He's like, He's like, I mean, think about them. They've been living in the mountains and no king has ever gone to them. And then he calls him a spoiled rich boy in the fight. So there's definitely the sense that there is a kind of, this is upper class black folk.
And Baku, I saw your palace, boo. You ain't poor. You ain't poor, and Baku. You have a sprawling mountain view, mountain top. You can see the whole Serengeti from your joint, okay? And Baku, so don't you be trying to ride on Baku. And then Baku's from the Caribbean, just so you know. Caribbean.
That's how we build them there. Too bad they spread their seed too much. But let's go.
Fine. But anyway, I wanted to mention that. So to me, it was just like, I thought it was really important. So I have to see. I'm just like, one, I've only seen the scene like with him and Nakia in the village, in the town, in the capital. It looked, the way it was populated, it looked like I don't want to say, I hate the word ghetto, but in the very urbanized area of the capital, if there is the capital of Wakanda, really. Most of the action takes place near the palace or near Suri's workshop, if that's where the palace is. And also, so much shit happened in 2 days. I don't even think Wakanda realized that they had a new king, then they had an old king, and then the old king came back.
It was tight. It was a tight story. They never took you out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when the false coronation happened, I don't want to say everybody was there. There weren't a lot of people there. There were a lot of people there, but there weren't a lot of Wakandans there. Come on. We saw Wakanda. Wakanda, unless Wakanda is like dead
from the tribe. Representations from each tribe, but that's about it.
So to me, again, it goes back to like I'm only seeing the upper class, right? I'm only seeing the elders or the high people of each specific tribe showing. Even M'Baku didn't come down with his full army. He came down with him and his bros. And the second time there was the ceremonial battle, ain't nobody was there.
Nobody was there for the second one because Eric didn't want to wait for anybody to get. He didn't want to be in the council.
For something that decides the fate of the nation, we can't be doing this shit in secret. This isn't how this shit run. We need everybody there to be witness.
Well, that's what they said. But remember, they said that. They said it's going to take weeks to get everybody together. He's like, I don't care about weeks. So.
Well, I understand that. So I'm just simply saying that's what I'm talking about. That nonetheless, this thing happened. Such an important thing happened without people being there. And it just seemed like, and then next time you see Nakia and T'Challa walking through, and it's like, Wakanda, you didn't know shit happened. Like, real shit happened. Like, there was a civil war upstairs, up in the... So,
right, but the conflict was between, the outermost tribes, right? It was between the Japari tribe, which is in the mountains anyway, that they never see, and it's with the border tribe, who are the main antagonist, or the main, conflict between those two. So maybe the other three tribes were just chilling and just was like, ain't nothing going on. So,
but no, they were present. The woman was present. The mining tribe was present. They were all present. They were aware of the succession.
But I'm talking about the proletariat. Just the people of it. They were just off doing what they do.
I mean, I guess life is so good in Wakanda. Just like, hey, shit happens up in the mountains, like, and things goes on in the city.
For a couple scenes, get me a sense of Wakanda beyond.
Right, me too. I felt so too. I didn't want to see just like the waterfall scene was beautiful. I see the scenery, but I wanted to be involved. But apparently, I think Lupita Nyong'o mentioned that there was a scene where she was running through Wakanda that they had filmed and they decided to cut it. So that was probably.
Well, I hope you guys know that apparently there was a cut of this movie that was 4 hours long.
Oh, wow. Where can I watch that movie?
Here for it.
Where can I watch that movie? Before said.
Wow. Oh, is that gonna be on the Blu-ray? I mean, I'm gonna buy a DVD just for that. Is that gonna be on a DVD somewhere?
No, I think there's probably gonna be a director and cast commentary on a DVD.
For sure, right? 4 hours? Yeah, you're right.
Tripping.
The composer said that he did a 4-hour score.
But you know what? I have to say, when I like something, like, I mean, like, I have watched a lot of interviews with these characters and the cohesiveness. I mean, I'm sure they're exhausted. I mean, they probably act like 15 films by the amount of press time they have done for this movie. I hope Marvel is giving them money because it is intense. These people gone over from
maybe they're Monique in it.
Korea,
Japan. They're not gonna treat them like Monique. We'll pay you to go on.
They don't pay you to go on the press tour.
They don't?
It's part of it. If they don't pay you to go on the tour, but they pay for the tour. That's what Monique was talking about, right? They pay, they pay your flight, they do all that kind of stuff. But
I mean, I have
you negotiate that in the contract stages.
I have seen these people interview with so many different people. I see them in the same clothes, and I know it's happening the same day. That they're doing television. They're literally going to TV shows. They're sitting down for and then they're going to they've even been interviewed by Korean disc jockeys. Like some African journalists showed up. It's almost like they were in a warehouse full of people, and they just said, "Make your way around the whole circuit."
They do the press junkets in hotels. They pick a room, they sit in the room for X amount of hours, and then they usher in the press 10 minutes at a time.
That is exhausting. That is no, because there's some shorter clips.
You've never watched any of those people. That's how this is how this works, real.
But no, this is. I mean, to me, that looked exhausted to me. I'm not even talking about. I feel I was more ready to get up in the costume and do whatever, learn some new action flick, whatever, as opposed to sitting down and be. I gotta talk to a million people and talk about the same shit over and over and over and over again. That is insane. But God bless them. They look ready for it every single time.
That's why they
yeah.
paid the big bucks.
It's true. I mean, M'Baku, I think it's very. M'Baku was like he's a traditionalist. I think Emmanuel was mentioning his promise with that she scoffs at tradition, which I think is kind of true. But I mean, he again another seemingly minor character that you understood exactly what he was on screen doing and why he was on screen and his motivation, his arc, and that is how I was just like nobody was wasted on this screen. Nobody, absolutely no one was wasted. It wasn't feeling like I had enough of this person. Even Sophia had a part to play.
Did y'all leave the theater yelling Wakanda forever?
I mean,
Did you do it?
In my mind.
Did
You didn't actually do it?
I stayed to the very end. I did stay to the very end. The first time I saw it, I didn't stay for the second scene.
The second reveal.
When I watched it the second, and I watched it again.
You know better.
You mean there was more that I
better.
missed?
I mean, you know what? Here's my thing.
Did you watch the White Wolf? Did you watch the appearance of the White Wolf?
Yes.
I
Here's my
stay until
problem.
the blue screen comes up and the music starts playing in the theater again.
There you go.
You do?
Yeah.
That's my problem.
If you didn't do that, then you missed the last. You missed the second to last thing.
Oh yeah, I left.
Here's my problem with these things, right? They're hardly relevant. It's like, why is this
I know, but I
happening?
like to see them. Like the whole after credit or post credit scene has gotten so bad that when Wonder Woman came out, the theater posted signs inside the theater that said there is no after credit scene for Wonder Woman because they were sick of people waiting when they could be cleaning the theater.
And I mean, it's like
I didn't know this was a thing.
And the thing about what I don't
Because
understand
you don't
is
go
like
to the movies, Janina.
it's like even like in DC Justice League, it's just like y'all just kill a super crazy alien from Apocalypse, and the after credits is gonna be dealing with some Joker bullshit. Humans, get the fuck out of here! Y'all just took out a fucking demigod. I got no time to deal with Deadshot and that bullshit. To me, the after credits, are you gonna tell me a story? You did so bad telling the full story. Now you're trying to give me a sneak peek for the second story. Get the fuck out of here! No.
Deb says, "Explain the second reveal, please."
Oh, the second reveal is when the first
reveal.
It's awesome. Deb, explain the second reveal.
Really funny because Bucky has done a lot of like his stuff seems to always happen in like post-credit scenes. But Bucky, Cap left Bucky in Wakanda at the end of Civil War.
No choice. Cap had no other choice.
Yeah, so that they could kind of fix him from the whole brainwashing thing that the Nazis had given him. So I don't know. I mean, it's probably very intentional, but when Shuri tells those little kids, why are they messing with the White Wolf? In the comics, the White Wolf was a white kid whose plane crashed in Wakanda, and he was raised by T'Chaka to be like his right hand. Now, he had come around before T'Challa was born, so there was always a lot of tension between T'Challa and the White Wolf, because he felt like, I don't know, like favoritism, or I guess how do you not prefer your own child to someone who crashed? Anyway, so he was like the strong arm of T'Chaka. He did a lot of bad stuff. He did all of the dirty, ugly things that T'Chaka didn't want to do. So basically, he kind of served the crown as like the secret police or something like that. So
do you think they're suggesting that that's what Bucky's going to end up doing for T'Challa?
I think this because I believe with all of my heart that Captain America is dying in Infinity War. I think that without Cap, Bucky has no anchor, and I think because they helped him in Wakanda, that he's going to feel some sense of like owing them the respect and owing them his service. So I think that he will probably stick with the Wakandans versus going back to the Avengers. And I think if Cap does die, then they're just going to bump Falcon up to Captain America. as opposed to putting the Winter Soldier in as Captain America. My guess. No, but that gets really complicated. That's when people have had to have seen all 17 of the movies and have some comic history behind them.
I have no idea what
I'm okay
you're
with
talking
it.
about.
I'm okay
Zero.
with it because my favorite Slash is actually Bucky and T'Challa Slash. So I'm cool with it.
Oh, excuse me. Send me some
Ooh.
links.
I'm just letting you know.
Send me
I'm
some
letting you
links
know
on
that Winter Panther is my favorite Slash.
Is that your favorite OTP?
It's my favorite OTP for that universe. I have many.
Oh my god. Andrea, you need to call me later. We need to talk about this.
Storytelling worlds, y'all. Storytelling worlds.
So in the chat, Nancy says that Winter Soldier is the next Captain America. There are several different comic lines. There are comic lines where Bucky does become Captain America. There are comic lines where Sam becomes Captain America.
Would be, you know what? It'd be interesting if they make it Sam though, although he seems old. But yeah, I've heard that Chris Evans is tired of Captain America.
Chris, we're tired of you. Chris, we're tired of you. I'm just saying that, Chris. I'm tired of you. I really am. I mean, for me, just like Captain America is on steroids. Let's be 100 about that.
We don't have to insult Captain America. He's the best one in that universe. Oh, you know what? There's one topic we didn't talk about. We promised to talk about this. We talked about can we talk about and you talked about you were gonna be ready for it. Can we talk about T'Challa's softness and the perception of his softness and what that means? What's your sense of that, please?
My thing is, I just rewatched his Black Panther T'Challa's introduction in Civil War earlier today, and it's a softness that's in juxtaposition to how he was filled with vengeance for killing Zemo or trying to track down Bucky, who he thought had killed T'Chaka. So it's one of the things that I feel like he has learned over, because I think in the scene where they're in the Bugatti spaceship, the reporter says that it's just been a week since T'Chaka died. That he's kind of sitting in that void, that space right after you lose a loved one, where it's kind of like I don't, and especially since he learned how to put away his vengeance and his anger. That it's a softness that's rooted in I am prepared. Well, I feel a connection to my father, but I'm not going to act or be aggressive in being the aggressor in a situation.
Really? I just felt two things. For me, it was just like, one, T'Challa, no, he ain't got no fucking justice in that white world, so he had to go get justice on his own. And two, he was contemplating that fucking Black Widow bitch. She fucked me over when I saved her life from Bucky was choking the shit out of her, and she just
I thought I'm actually talking more metaphorical than specific, but well, because one of the things I find interesting about T'Challa as a character, and this is, that he has it. First of all, he has his full humanity. But then the other part of it is that as a Black character, he has a kind of like core gentleness that is very similar to, because I was talking to somebody about it, that I actually think in the Marvel universe, the comparable character to T'Challa is Captain America. But Captain America, unfortunately, has gotten harder. He used to have that softness. He used to have a sense of like honor and
the world beat it out of him.
Yeah, the world has, right? And so what's interesting about T'Challa is that he still has that. And in contrast to Eric, it's so strong. It's so compelling. And it's really kind of provocative. And I actually think really kind of revolutionary for a Black character, a male Black character, to have that on screen.
But he has a safe space, though.
What do you mean?
That is one of the reasons. He has Wakanda. He can go to Wakanda and all of that shit that's happening outside doesn't exist. So he can afford to have his full humanity, because you just pointed out this softness was beaten out of Captain America because the world is fucked up. The world is a hot mess of a place. And Captain America understands that. So that's why he's running after Bucky, because Bucky is his last anchor to, the time when life was great, whatever the case may be. But for T'Challa, he can there is a place he can go hide. I don't want to say hide, but there is a world that exists. He has his Shangri-La, his utopia. He doesn't have.
Is that
to
why
deal
we
with
all
you.
want to go to Wakanda? Because
We do.
that
Yes.
gives us a sense of
Because
softness.
we don't. Because you don't have to deal with the fuckery we're gonna deal with. So Trump want to blow up your wall. Go right ahead.
Wakanda.
We're in Wakanda. We're good. We're good. And
And
you know,
I also think it's because he was well loved.
yeah, he was definitely
Well-loved
well loved.
kids.
And that's
have that, right?
That's another thing that I mean. One of the it's a I don't know if it's a stereotype, but if we're gonna look at Eric versus T'Challa, you do see this kind of and Eric is not his name. I can't pronounce his African name, but there is a value of when you are fed, when you are loved, when you are in a I don't want to say stable home, but when you are surrounded by people who love you, cheer you on, and appreciate you for who you are, it makes a difference. As
If
opposed to
people
Eric
didn't have
Killmonger.
daddy issues, the comic industry would not exist. The entire comic industry
Right.
is all about daddy issues.
Oh shit!
Well, it's not only daddy. I mean, like I don't even think it's just daddy issues per se, but it's just like
Parental
hunger. It's hunger. I mean, most of the villains are hungry. They were hungry.
They're empty.
They're
empty.
They're empty in sort of a way. And I think Eric Killmonger sort of like highlights this. Like the first thing he said, you were up here sitting up pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got all the nice things. You got Christmas, and everything that I had loved was stripped and stolen away from me. So I mean, I think
nobody but T'Challa would have given Eric that end scene. Nobody understood the power of that scene for Eric.
I think so.
I mean,
the transformative thing, he did transform because I think he understood all of that. But you're right. I can't imagine Captain doing that. I don't imagine that.
Absolutely do that for Bucky.
He would for Bucky.
100%.
Bucky's his man. That's
space.
different. Bucky is his boyfriend.
Bucky's his safe space. That's the thing about it. You get the sense that for Captain, it's particular, but for T'Challa, it's him.
Yeah.
He would do that for anyone, and he did that for anyone. He did that for Bucky at the end of,
and he did that for Zemo. So.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That's who he is. But for Captain America, it's specific to Bucky. Unfortunately,
he fuck up the whole thing for Bucky. Captain America will fuck up the whole world for Bucky. But he just wouldn't say, "I love you, Bucky."
What's a Bucky?
Oh God.
Bucky. Oh, Janina, Bucky is
That's
Captain
too
America.
far to explain back, Janina.
I know we're not gonna go back, but
Okay,
Bucky's
fine.
Captain America's best friend, and at the end of the last movie,
Really ain't best
Bucky
friend. Okay.
wow, best friends. But and at the end of the last
Thank
movie,
you.
Bucky was taken to Wakanda so that he could be better. And so that's the last scene you missed in the at the credits is that Bucky makes an appearance at the very, very, very
So
end.
Bucky makes an appearance.
No, it is.
Yeah.
You remember when
Yes.
Shuri said another broken white boy?
That's who she's referring to.
First
Right.
one
That was
is
so
Bucky.
good.
Okay.
But
Okay,
I was
can
so
I-
shocked when she turned around and she looked at him and she said, "Don't touch anything colonizer." I was like,
Oh yeah.
Can I tell you, I secretly walk around thinking of that now. Okay?
Oh, I've been calling.
No, colonizer.
I've been calling people colonizers since I saw it.
I mean, and it's and here is this, and the thing that was so funny was that she's the youngest person on screen, basically, and the way it wasn't even, she didn't even say it with venom or with contempt. She was just saying the thing what a thing is. She was just like saying, "Don't touch anything, colonizer." It was.
Can I tell you? I've seen it. I've seen it in many spaces. That line kills in a room of Black people. Killed.
Yeah.
In a room of white audiences, not so much. Dead silence. Dead
So
silence.
I want to ask you guys because, you each of you, so first of all, we watched this movie. We're like, let's get some other people. We know Jasmine's a huge comic book person and can fill in all the gaps. And we just love because, believe it or not, I don't feel like he's had much space here today. He's super, super smart, and we love his opinion.
Thank you.
You all
I thought you were talking about
talked
me.
about. Yeah, whatever. You're not that lucky. I talk to you every day. But you all talked about, and this was something that I did not think of, I did not consider, and I would not do because that's not who I am. But you guys all talked about going to see this movie in different neighborhoods with different demographics. Is this something that you do often when a movie could possibly be polarizing in some aspect, or is it just this? You thought it would be good with this movie and you did it. So what did you notice? What was different depending on where you were?
Well, for me, I've seen all my 3 viewings in the same theater. But what I noticed is that when I first went to go see it, it was a fan event. So it was filled with fans, Marvel fans, and also just people who just wanted to see it early. And then my second viewing was in a premium theater that was like the Dolby whatever stuff that cost like $20. And that was pretty much just me and my sister and like a handful of other Black people, and then just completely white people. And that's where the jokes were just like, oh wow, this is not landing from. And so I noticed the difference in terms of I guess premium level of the ticket. And then when I went to see it a third time, I was just in a regular theater, no 3D, no special anything, and it was just filled with Black people, and it was just a party in there. We were just having fun, and everyone just loved it. So I'm sure it's that way if you go across different neighborhoods as well, but just in that cross section of different groups and demographics in the different viewings, it was quite evident that certain stuff was landing, certain stuff wasn't.
It wasn't intentional for me at first. It was just by design. The first showing I went to was Thursday night. I didn't want to go at 10 o'clock at night, so I did 7:30 on Thursday. So it was like the after work crowd, but it was all young folks. And there were it was probably evenly split between Blacks and Hispanics. And then the second showing was near my parents' neighborhood, which is a little bit more upscale. There were a lot of older people because it was 11 in the morning. And that was when I noticed that things were hitting differently when I watched it that time versus it. I didn't think of it until that showing where I was like, oh man, people laugh so much harder the first time I saw this than they are this time around. So that was when I started to pay attention to it. There was a lot more empathy with the older crowd as well, which I thought was very interesting.
I saw it. For me, I saw it 3 times, and the first time I saw it with when it first came out, like 7:30, and the jokes landed. Everyone got it from the very first joke. Like, there to Grace Jones looking chick out here, and I was like, we all got it. We all got it. The second time, I was in a group of mostly white people. They didn't laugh. You know when they did laugh? When Klaw showed up on the scene, and I was like, y'all ain't right. Y'all ain't right. Y'all smell bad, and y'all are crazy. Like, the movie was so packed. No, when I say that, I mean, like, it's because when I said that, let me take that very careful. It was because this time every seat was filled. Every single seat was filled, and it was a smaller theater, so everybody was in there. So I was smelling everybody in the room, everybody, and it was all hot in the middle of the day. So that's why I felt like I was. They weren't laughing. I wasn't able to engage in the movie. I just felt like I was smelling everything around the movie theater. I was smelling food and that kind of thing. That's what I meant. The third time around, I saw it last night. It was a mixed crowd, and everyone was sort of like everyone was in the joke, and I was like mostly in for the script and the action this time around. But I think it matters, really. It really matters. I guess if you're going, I don't always do this, but I mean, a movie like this, it was because this is the first time movie event, kind of like. It's the first time something like this has ever been done on this scale. So I think it was worth sort of like seeing the experiment to see what it's like, how it impacts the audience. Because I think this movie is gonna resonate for time to come. I really think it's gonna have a huge impact on the industry. And I have to say, one of the good things about this movie is that because this has been done, people are not going to accept anything less. You can't come with some other bullshit next time around. People are going to be like, nope, we're not here for that shit. Get out of here. So that's what I'm most excited about, to see what next can come forward. What can happen when this is out in the ether, and we are all now like, oh, yes, Black Panther has set a precedent, and we want something more like this. Hello, has everyone dropped out of the call?
No. Sorry.
Oh.
Processing.
It's just accidental for me. I mean, I'm just trying to have a different experience, and just by virtue of where I go to see it, sometimes it's just a better theater or whatever. You end up with a different crowd. And the second time I went to see it, it was a scholarship thing, and it was all it's like it was a small theater, but it was all full, and it was basically I'd say 100% Black people, and it just feels like the lines hit in the right way for the crowd. And then the very first night I went, it was really like like a fan crowd, just like a movie fan crowd. And I think everybody
you guys
was
keep saying that. What's that mean? A fan crowd? What does that mean?
Who else wastes their Friday night or Thursday night to do a midnight showing? Like, casual fans don't do that.
Yeah. It was a Thursday crowd. You just get the sense that people were there because a lot of the people there were talking about Civil War. They were talking about other stories. They were talking about, you just hear the language. So it felt like it was a crowd for people who were seeing it because it was a superhero movie. So
I waited 2 weeks to see Star Wars movies because I don't want to be caught up in that crowd.
Yeah, that's a different crowd. So that crowd, I mean, I don't necessarily do it all the time. I mean, some movies I do see a lot because they resonate in a certain way. But I think a different crowd. The last movie that I think the crowd mattered a little bit was Get Out.
You
I think Get Out was definitely one of those.
Oh, yes. I
bet it was.
Yeah. And you know what? When I watched Get Out, I had one of those experiences where I felt I wanted to talk in the movie, but where I wanted to talk about the movie, and that was when they're about to leave for the trip. And I was about to say, "You left the dog. No, don't trust her. White women never leave the dog."
But you know what was interesting was I saw it in a crowd of like a pretty white crowd, and it was really interesting when the cops drove up at the end of Get Out. And the crowd was like, no. I mean, that's a white crowd recognizing that the presence of cops for a Black character might be a challenge. That was interesting to hear that reaction.
I told myself that if that scene had played out the way that I thought it would have when you see the cop lights, I said, I am going to get up out of this chair and I'm walking the fuck out of this theater because I can't believe I would have wasted all my time watching this movie for it to end this way. But it was really when I walked out of that theater, there was like a white couple that they were giggling in front of me. They were an older white couple, and they said, I wonder if it was that way when Amanda met Jason. And then they cackled, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is the whole
my God.
of the movie.
Wow. I might need to watch that movie.
Oh my God. I was sitting next to a white couple who told the woman told her husband that they were seeing Guess Who's Coming to Dinner too.
Oh my God. Wild.
I saw Get Out in the best crowd because it was an urban theater.
I think actually turns out to be something that people say, but I literally sat next to this couple. It was urban.
It was urban, like, it was young people, Black and Hispanic people, and they were like, yo, no, she didn't. Like, when it's just like, oh, this bitch. Oh, especially when she went. I don't want to spoil the movie for Aunt Janina, but that scene, right, where just like, like, where the keys. That scene, they were like, oh, no, I knew, and I was in my head. I was just like, I told my friend, just like, the dog. When she didn't bring the dog, I was just like, I knew it. I knew it. Didn't trust Becky then, but it's a totally different vibe. It's a totally different vibe.
No idea what's going on here.
Some movies just sort of like, you need your peoples. If I'm gonna go see, I don't know, like the ghost thread, whatever that is. I don't know what that is.
The Phantom Thread?
The Phantom Thread, thank you. I mean, I'm not gonna see it in the urban theater. In fact, it won't be in an urban theater. It just won't.
We'll be talking the first time.
Wow.
We'll be having a whole other conversation. I have to go to like the art theater to see that.
Y'all are crazy. The last thing we need to talk. Listen, the last thing we need to talk about that Zenobia, I think it was, reminded us that we didn't. We need to give some proper time to the costumes of this movie.
I mean,
did we?
I mean, they
I
were
feel-
functional, they were cute, they were really good. And you know what I thought was interesting was that Nakia was so adamant that she wasn't the Dora that she didn't even want to wear the clothes, even though it was armor. And she was just like, "Girl, it's armor. You can't go out there like a two-piece trying to fight Eric. You need armor." And she's just like, "I'm not a
Okay,
Dora."
so we saw something in the breakdown on the video. The Ryan Coogler mentioned something, so I just wanted to share it for people who didn't, which I thought was amazing. In the Korea fight scene, in Busan, Korea, the fight scene, Ryan Coogler mentions a couple things about color. So he makes note of the fact that Nakia is actually wearing a dress with the Wakandan written language on it, which I didn't know, which is amazing. And that each of the characters were in the three colors that are supposed to represent Pan-African colors. So when you line them up together, they were supposed to represent Pan-Africanism or some African flags, which was the red, green,
green, and black.
Yep. Which
I assumed that Nakia was always wearing green because she was part of the river tribe, and that's what they wore to the council.
And also blue was important too, because blue is also supposed to represent the colonizers. And that's also why another shows up in blue. Klaw is in blue. And also in some ways why Eric was in blue.
Yep.
Is that why vibranium is blue?
Maybe.
No, vibranium is it blue? I thought in the comics it's always
the vial of vibranium. They always show it in its raw form as blue.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that was, I mean, the fact that she was walking around in Wakandan clothes was with the language on it is really interesting.
But the fact that they put that much effort into it,
all of that
is what's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I watched the red carpet premiere, and Angela Bassett said that headpiece that she wears, the white headpiece when you first see her when T'Challa gets off the plane, was 3D printed.
Yeah, wow. Nakia's dress was 3D printed as well. Nakia's dress was 3D printed.
Man, black people do it right.
We just
I think if we watch the talk with her, she could probably give us all this detail about the color coding of the fabric, because obviously the colors also represent the different tribes at the ceremony with the king when he was first becoming king. There were very different colors there.
What's his name? Ryan Coogler. He is I think Tristan may said, it's always good to have a black man who likes black women, women in general. There was a lot of women. I think the person who did the set design was also a woman. And Ruth Carter did the costuming. And what was important that I understood from both of their perspective was that nothing was random. Nothing on screen was random at all. It wasn't like some crazy thing out of there. They all went into it and did research and had specific places to help the characters understand who they are and why they're here and why they're in it. Even the blankets sort of thing that Nakia, when they were going to and also the border tribals, where they're actually designed from Lesotho, the ethnic group that's in that area. The women make those things, and you can actually literally buy those blankets.
Also, someone on Twitter said that if you look at the modern scape of Wakanda, that it's a version of different types of African huts, but modernized.
Right, yeah. Even the spaceship looked like a mask.
And the spaceship also looked like a mosquito, right?
It's one of the one of them looked like a mosquito dragonfly kind of thing.
That's why I don't watch movies with y'all.
But if you looked at the ship that Okoye was driving, steering, flying, it was of a mask. If you look from above, looking up. And I think that's why Shuri said to him, "I made it American style for you," because it wasn't. Claire, you see Okoye? She was meditating to get that shit moving.
She made the controls American for him, like a fighter jet, because Okoye was steering with I don't know what.
She was.
Oh, you know what? For people who noticed, did anybody notice anything orange in the movie?
No, there was red and there was yellow. There was no orange.
Okay, because isn't the Soul Stone supposed to be orange? That's the thing that connects all the MC stories. Isn't Wakanda supposed to have a stone? Is it red?
The theory is that the Soul Stone is in Wakanda because when in the opening scene it explains how the meteor hit and the meteor changed life on Earth and life in that region. So, and that if there is a Soul Stone in Wakanda, it makes sense because everybody at the beginning of the Infinity War trailer is in Wakanda.
Yeah.
So why the hell else would Thanos go there if they didn't have a Soul Stone?
The final stone. Okay.
Right. So maybe it's inside. Maybe the Soul Stone is what's powering the vibranium. Maybe it's inside
in the mountain.
Yeah.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
But everything was so there wasn't. I guess it would be red or sort of like clay brown.
But the merchant tribe
the
was
miners tribe, the miners tribe, yeah, they were red orangish.
Can we also talk about? Can we talk about the ancestral plane? What do you guys think about that space? The ancestral plane that he visits
when they drink the juice and when
they drink the juice.
Oh, like I thought of Harry and Dumbledore.
What?
I know you would. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know. But I think the relevance was that the experience was I think it's the difference in like Harry and Dumbledore was that when Harry went into the spiritual plane, he had a sage, wise person there, and when Eric went into this ancestral plane, he had conflict. He didn't see. He just saw his father. And
but the idea of it is the same to get information, right?
Well, actually, in Civil War,
clarity. Go ahead.
Well, in Civil War, right after T'Chaka dies, T'Challa's like sitting on a sidewalk bench and he's kind of in shock, and Black Widow comes up and talks to him, and he's like, my father believed that death is not the end; it's just a stepping off point, and that Bast and Shemet bring you to a great plain where you can run free and all that thing. And so when he comes back from the ancestral plane in Black Panther, that's why he's so kind of emotional, to Zuri saying, I saw him, it's real, I saw him. And so it was more of a connection of like, yes, this is not the end for you or for T'Chaka or whatnot. And when he goes back to the ancestral plane, T'Chaka said, come and join us. And he says, no, this is not the end for me. So it's kind of I don't want to say a limbo, but it's the next phase in terms of, was T'Challa ready to go to that phase? And he says, no, I still have unfinished business, so therefore I'm going back.
Apparently, Wakanda don't deal with funerals. They just move right on. Just like,
well, you know what's interesting too is the idea, though, that the ancestral plane. First of all, I mean, talk about the fact that you have a very modern society, but this still has a place for spirituality and still has a space for a kind of ancestral traditional sort of like reckoning. Which is really nice, because that's always been the tension. The tension is like, you're so modern, but yet you have that.
I think that's part of what M'Baku's motivation is. He's just like, y'all are not holding on to tradition and the spiritual aspect of it. Well, y'all are just taking part of it, like you need to go back.
Not respecting it enough.
You're not respecting it enough. That's why he dresses the way he does, whatever. But he is powered by vibranium. But look, boo, we saw that palace. That is not. You did not dig them out with simple stone tools, boo. You had some vibranium equipment.
Now, my understanding is the Jabari tribe rejected vibranium.
Yeah, they reject vibranium. They don't have vibranium because that's the T'Challa having the flower. That their tribe is the only one that has it. That's what allows him to rule. And that's how
Jabari rejected the Black Panther. They didn't reject vibranium.
No, they didn't. They rejected the Black Panther. They didn't want to be ruled by the Black Panther because there were 5 tribes.
But they don't have. But it doesn't say that they. It doesn't say that they have vibranium.
They do have vibranium.
They couldn't live in the mountains without it, though. I mean, they're still too advanced.
The beginning of the story said that vibranium landed here. 5 tribes settled here, and then
one refused to
Black
unite under the
Panther-
mantle of the Black
yeah,
Panther.
On the Black Panther.
exactly.
But Shuri's the one that's able to make vibranium do more complex things.
Well, no, she's just expanding what vibranium could do. They don't believe that vibranium should be used to do all of these things.
Okay.
They just think, like, we don't want to be, you just have a little child running around, her imagination is running too wild. That you need to sort of like respect tradition, respect the natural elements. They're like vegetarian.
How old school
vegetarian
Black people is that?
Well, exactly, right? I mean, like you have the church folks, right? Like
I mean, because he's kind of naturalist, right? He's like this idea of living in the mountains. I mean, it's a little bit like the Indians who went and lived in the mountains in Jamaica when the Maroons and avoided slavery.
And he has a different god.
He have a different god. Yeah, that's true.
As opposed to the other Wakandans.
Interesting.
Because he is hidden in Wakanda too.
Instead of Bast.
Right.
Oh yeah, Hanuman. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's hidden in by the Boda tribe. He's not. He doesn't
I like the ancestral plane though. I like the idea of going to this space and visiting your family that's passed and getting wisdom from them and talking to them and letting them tell you what they want. Because even with Eric, it wasn't conflict there. With Eric, he was tender. Remember, he cried there. So it's like both he and his father were very sad because they were both lost. Like the father wasn't with his other core group.
Right.
It's kind of sad. But it seemed to allow you to get to a core part of you, like your center in some ways.
Help you deal with some of your daddy issues, but it was good.
Conflict. Can I take this herb and go lay down and chat with the ancestors?
Deal with my daddy.
About my life.
Because there were women though. There was a woman there in the T'Challa scene. But it seemed to be like I'm
all of the past kings, all of the past royalty of Wakanda.
Yeah, that's true.
And apparently Black Panther can be a woman as well.
Yeah. Well, did you see when Nakia says, "Wake up, T'Challa"? You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of The Matrix when Keanu Reeves' character is asleep and they lean over and says, "Wake up." And then that's also when T'Challa woke up, right? Because that's when he gets angry with his dad and wakes up to his like adult responsibilities. So it's like
well, he realized something that that he doesn't have to follow in his father's footsteps. Like she was trying to tell him, you get to decide the king that you want to be. You don't have to follow them and stay here, basically.
And she also has to tell him that no man is perfect.
Fuck it. I don't know who she's talking to. T'Challa is perfect to me.
She says in an interview,
"Come to me, Daddy. I'll show you, Daddy."
Wow.
What kind of
Pull out the daddy.
Listen, I love T'Challa. Smart and solid.
I could go be vegetarian for M'Baku.
Yeah, M'Baku.
I'll push you down that mountain for us.
Oh my God. How about having M'Baku just bark at white people? What the fuck is
Listen.
But that was interesting, right? Because what is so interesting about that is that in the past, and even to a certain extent today, people of color weren't allowed to give testimony or give any kind of official statement in official proceeding. They were basically backed out and treated like dogs, like animals. Like they
weren't considered fully human.
Exactly. And I think M'Baku was
but
just
he
like,
barked. I mean, like, whoa, what is this?
I think it was gorilla. It wasn't bark. It was a gorilla sound.
It was definitely gorilla.
it was gorilla, but
whatever it was animalistic and a little weird.
It was appropriate.
Because again, it's one of those things that when it goes back to where I said Everett Ross. I think he forgot his place, right? It was just like you can't show up in the space and be the boss. You don't get to say what you. In the ordinary space, you would have gone and probably like, "Oh, it's the American." You get to say what you got to say, right?
But for real though, I don't like that he knows all their secrets. I mean, let's not forget that Eric is CIA, and he now knows lots of things. He knows how to fly that damn thing.
I mean, I'm about to ask a question that I'm about to get, so I'm just gonna ask it because I really can't remember. Did he die?
No.
Did who die?
Eric.
Killmonger?
He doesn't die, right?
The Ross.
Killmonger.
Oh, Eric Killmonger?
Yes.
Yes.
He said he didn't want to be saved. He said, bury me like my ancestors, bury me at the sea, because they knew that drowning was better than being in chains.
But
he kills himself.
Does he?
By pulling
Do
it
we
out.
know
He
this for
pulls out.
Yes.
He pulls. I mean,
Zenobia says
in the comics he dies
Zenobia says
often. So
Oh, really?
yeah, apparently he comes and goes. You know how
Will he
comics
be
are.
back?
Probably he could be. There's no reason why. You know,
Well,
Yes,
I mean,
Zenobia
Doctor
says-
Strange brought out the time stone, so it's possible that Infinity War goes back in time, and you know, there's all kinds of possibilities.
Zenobia says, have we
did.
realized M'Baku is what colonizers think we are?
Yeah.
I mean, on a first glance, but I'm telling you, M'Baku has depth to him. Or definitely has
well,
height
you know,
for sure.
apparently they heal. Apparently they fixed that character because in the comics he's problematic as a gorilla tribe,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
So
In
there are
the
things.
comics, his name is Man-Ape.
Man-ape, yes.
And thank God someone thought that was inappropriate and they gave him a real name for the movie.
Which
His name
him
is
bark-
Man-Ape.
Which makes sense.
Oh,
It-
for fuck's sake!
What they
See,
should have
this is
called
why I
him-
don't fuck with comics.
What they should have called him
Well-
was man thighs. They should have said, let's
They should call him all kind of things. They should call him eggplant. That's what they should call him. They should call him eggplant.
God.
Too much. Too much. That was a step too far.
This is why, Jasmine, you're not coming
Conversation,
up the
girls. That's a
mountain.
private conversation, not a live
my
one.
God.
This is why, Jasmine, you're not coming up the mountain with me, okay? You're not. You're not.
climb on top. That's what it is.
Look,
Climb the mountain.
I'm still
God.
holding out for
Well,
Lupita.
Well,
I'm just saying.
when,
I'm willing
when
to give Wakabi a chance because, you know, now I know Okoye's going to dump his ass. Wakabi going to need some company. And Wakabi,
Oh my god!
well, when
you guys
T'Challa
are
walks
awful.
back into the throne room at the end where he's finally king again, it's not Wakabi standing there. He's not even in this. It's M'Baku. So you don't have to
I
climb
saw
the
that
mountain.
today.
You just
oh, I don't have to go up the mountain. You're right. You're right. See,
Mountains
you're
come
a
down
good
to him
Judy.
now.
You're a
The
good Judy.
border
Oh.
tribe is not completely excommunicated because they're very prominent in the Infinity
Sure.
War trailer.
I'm sure they will, though. They'll have to come back. He'll have to make it up to T'Challa there.
You have to make it up to Okoye.
Can we talk about the walk that T'Challa makes as he's walking towards his sister? Because that's when I thought I need to climb T'Challa, but I don't know if everybody was confused with that.
oh god.
Look.
Hey,
Oh,
real. Zenobia said if you like M'Baku, you should go to Nigeria because you'd never want to come back.
Listen,
and Baku is from Trinidad. I don't need to go to Nigeria, but I love to go to Nigeria. I don't need to go to Trinidad.
Hey.
My god!
Let me tell you about my Nigerian cousins. Right.
Oh, your family's Nigerian?
Yes.
Oh,
You
okay.
sending out
I don't know
emails?
why I thought Ghanaian. I'm
No,
sorry
no,
if
no,
that's
no,
offensive.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no, no.
Oh,
Am I the only person with East African roots?
I think
I don't know what mine are. So
My colonizers destroyed my paperwork. I don't know. I really don't know.
fucking white people.
You're a mess.
I mean, as much as I know, I
Man,
mean,
listen.
the only place I could probably go back, which I won't be welcome, is probably Portugal for my great grandmother. She was in Portugal, but that's not gonna be helpful for me. Not gonna be helpful.
Well, this was delightful. This is a lovely visit to Wakanda. This is
It
what we want
was.
in
Oh, I have to
Wakanda.
tell you something. I think though this is not a part to play in the movies per se, but Daniel Ayalo, is that how you pronounce his name?
Kaluuya.
Yellow? Mhm.
Kaluuya?
Kaluuya. Oh yes.
Or
yes,
Kulia. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about something else.
Daniel Wakabi, get out. Simple.
Oh,
Oh, look at him be. He was. Oh, can we talk about her choice at the very end?
Well, actually,
Over
he
him?
said that's what I was talking about. He says it's such an important scene because it's such a strong scene, and he mentioned it's two dark-skinned people, and I was just like,
Yes, bitch.
interesting.
That's key.
Interesting. I thought you should mention that because you
That's interesting. Why was that important?
No, he mentioned that because you're seeing this between love country
Black people? Yeah, well,
between two black people, and it's two black people, not like any kind of like
yeah.
mix or something like that. Two black people and two black persons. And I thought that was important because you rarely ever see that on this big.
Oh, I didn't even
screen.
think about that at all. I thought about the fact that she was like, "Dude, I'm gonna kill you over Wakanda."
And plus, she could kick his ass.
Yeah.
You just.
I thought the scene with T'Challa and Nakia was more impactful, like that kind of black love at the end.
Yeah, that's actually a love. Although I didn't buy them as having chemistry, but I was okay.
No, that's because her and Michael B. Jordan have too much chemistry.
Actually, Lupita says.
Did they even share a scene together?
No, but during the press tour, they looked inseparable.
Well,
y'all need to stop trying to put Lupita with every single man she's ever been in a movie with.
I know,
Have you
right?
noticed that? Y'all
are just trying to make black babies. Y'all are trying to make some.
Not even. They try to make mixed babies because they did it with when she played that guy in remember when they kept putting her with the best actor in the Jared Leto. Every single movie, every single time they pair her up with some guy. I'm like, you ain't up for that. No, but yeah, you're right. They do have chemistry off screen.
Lupita said that she wished that Nakia had chemistry, was in love with T'Challa. She wished that he was in Nakia, but Nakia got things to do. She got places to see.
Do you guys think that they are sowing seeds because in the comics, Nakia actually took Killmonger's side? She's a villain called Malice in the comics. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're setting us up as an audience to like her for her sort of reserved views on the way that Wakanda should present itself to the rest of the world, only for her to turn villain in a later
But
film.
interesting enough, she said that she wanted to play a villain next. That she would love to play a villain. But in the comics, I think, at least in Ta-Nehisi Coates, Nakia was actually a Dora Milaje. And there is a lesbian couple in the Dora. But
There's a lesbian couple in the door, but it's Ayo, so the Francis Kasimba's role,
right?
Not Nakia.
Well, there was also lesbianism in the film, but they cut that out because apparently the woman whose throat was slashed, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's Kasimba and Okoye.
Yeah, they supposedly filmed a couple scenes where they were together.
But when
suggestions of it.
When Okoye looks to Okoye, what's Kasimba's role? What's her name? Ayo. When she looks at Okoye and says, "Is there nothing we can do?" That just like
that was
broke my heart because she can't move. They can't move. They must stay there because they realize we got a good leader. That we're facing this conflict right now, right? Where you just like, can I serve this asshole? So I need to get the fuck out.
You gotta let the process play out, right? It's a real process.
Well, they were taking matters into their own hand. But you know what, people? We have taken up enough of your time. This was a lovely movie. There's lots more we can talk about, and wonderful we got through our agenda.
And stop letting people tell you that this place isn't real. If you want to go create vibranium tech, do it. Shit. Do it. Don't worry about it.
Actually, there's something I think I just wanted to mention. I mean, like, I am so inspired by this. I feel so
amazed. You be writing something real?
Let's not fool ourselves with those stories. Let's not fill our head. Let my writing career.
Oh boy.
Oh, did we lose him? Okay. Sad.
Oh, we lost him?
I don't know.
I'm still here.
Well, then hurry up and wrap it.
Yeah, you went away.
I'm just saying I'm inspired, and I wish that one of the things I wish this movie would do for all of us and the wider world, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, is for us to invest in the street as some indescript Africa, but to look at the variant and the variety and the wonderful, just like how China is so, not China, sorry, Asia, and we look at Asia, Europe, and to a certain extent, I guess America, but South America is so diverse and rich and has a multiplicity of languages, culture, and things to do and see, eat, whatever, that we can share that same appreciation and love for Africa just the same. because I think this movie started putting on a wide scale for us all to enjoy. So I'm gonna, reassert my roots and go back to read some African history, read up more on Africa. Something I've done anyway, but wanting to do much more, be much more diligent in that sort of scholarship, whatever the case may be. And I would suggest people reading Jesse's Homegoing. Just putting it out there. Excellent book. Excellent book.
I'm glad people went out and saw this movie on opening weekend, because Hollywood is very quick to say minority films don't do well because people don't care. And I really want, if Disney can get a movie like this right, there's no reason that Disney can't get Aladdin right. There's no reason that Disney can't get Mulan right. Like, try harder. True. I want you to try harder. I want to go pay money to see those stories told by people of those descendants, not people in blackface or people in brownface. I want that. Yeah, I want you to trust in what you did.
The people telling their own stories, that people can tell their own story competently, and that you don't need some hotshot white boy director going in there trying to fuck up Patty Jenkins' vibe. Okay, just let the people trust the creative people. Get a director who is really good, and let them hire their own creative team and know what they're doing and telling their own stories. Don't just come in and try to,
trust the audience to accept what our people are telling us versus you telling the audience what they will accept.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a gay superhero movie.
Oh no.
I'm looking for a black.
You already have that, don't you? Who's their gay superhero?
Do? Adam Rippon. Don't even start with that. No, we will not. So thank you, Olu and Jasmine.
Thank you.
Sorry for coming on.
Thank you.
It was wonderful, and to a wider audience. I don't know if we kept them up. Some of them went to the club. Yvette, I know you're going to the club, but I know Yvette is watching tennis right now, and I know that Tearful took the first set.
He was up two breaks in the second. I hope he should be done.
Look, Matt Damon needed to make some money. I tried to watch that movie, Great Wall. I don't know the fuck what's happening with that movie, but let's just say I'm trying to finish that. I don't know why that was. I saw aliens roll up on this. Look, come on now. I have seen better 1980s kung fu movie that was much more interesting than the plot.
Oh, get out of here. Christ.
But also, just saying, people. There are tons of good movies out there you can watch from other cultures, and not just Hollywood.
We're gonna satisfy Peter by saying, anyway.
Yeah,
right. Really. Oh my God.
So, any last words from any of you? Judy's, my good Judy's, my co-hostesses with the mostesses. Any last word from you, our guest?
Hope you feel better. Oh, sorry you were sick. Thanks for coming and even contributing, even with your sickness. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a fun time. And $550 million in 1 week.
Tony said there's no damn way Reels has an agenda.
Tony, you didn't see the movie, so you don't know. Tony, you didn't see the movie, so you don't know if my agenda was going right.
We did, and we went through it quite orderly, too, with a couple sides.
Well, someone did have to remind Reels about putting out the agenda. So.
Oh no, honey. Sometimes it comes 30 seconds before we're due to start. This was good. This was early.
And sometimes, and all the time, it don't matter when the agenda comes. Somebody don't read it.
Okay. All right. On that note, we're gonna go.
Thanks, y'all.
Good night, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this podcast.
Bye. Good night.
Look on the